The night is quiet now. Far above the sleeping earth, clouds move slowly across a dark and endless sky. A cool wind passes over rough hills and narrow paths worn smooth by many feet. Somewhere in the distance, a faint sound rises gently into the air. It is only the quiet shifting of animals in their wooden shelters. A soft rustle of straw. The sleepy movement of life settling into rest. Tonight, we travel softly into the slow days inside ancient Celtic settlements. There are no grand palaces waiting for us here. No shining marble halls. No towering cities filled with noise. Instead, there are small homes resting close together beneath wide skies. Smoke curls upward from simple rooftops. Wooden fences lean quietly against the earth. Dirt paths stretch gently between homes, shaped by seasons of footsteps and patient routines. The world feels slower here. Morning arrives without hurry in these places. It comes softly, with pale light touching the edges of hills and long grass moving quietly beneath the wind. Before the village fully wakes, a few figures are already stirring near the warmth of fading fires. Inside a round house, someone shifts beneath heavy wool blankets. The fire at the center of the home has nearly gone dark now, though small orange light still glows beneath soft gray ash. The air smells faintly of smoke, damp wool, and earth. Sleep moves slowly here. There are no clocks waiting beside sleeping hands. No bells marking exact hours. Only darkness slowly becoming morning. A woman wakes first. Her day begins quietly, almost without sound. She pulls warm fabric closer around her shoulders and listens for a moment to the silence inside the home. Nearby, children still sleep close together beneath wool coverings. A dog rests near the doorway, breathing softly. Outside, the first birds have begun their quiet work of greeting the morning. She kneels beside the fire. With practiced hands, she stirs the ashes carefully, searching for sleeping warmth hidden beneath yesterday's embers. Small pieces of dried wood are added gently. A little breath. A quiet flicker. Slowly, patiently, warmth begins again. The fire returns as softly as morning itself. Its light stretches carefully across the walls of the round house. These homes are built to hold warmth close. Thick walls made from woven branches covered in clay stand strong against changing weather. Roofs rise overhead in heavy layers of thatch, holding back rain and cold winds. Nothing inside feels hurried. Everything has its place. Simple wooden stools rest near the fire. Clay pots wait beside baskets filled with grain. Bundles of dried herbs hang overhead, filling the air with faint earthy smells. Tools rest quietly against walls, waiting for hands that know them well. Soon, another person wakes. Then another. The village begins its slow return to life. Outside, pale mist hangs low over the land. Grass glitters softly with cold drops of morning moisture. Smoke rises carefully from rooftops as fires awaken one by one. There is comfort in routine here. A young boy carries water from a nearby stream. His sandals move carefully across uneven earth still wet from the cool night. He knows this path well. Every stone. Every bend. Every place where roots rise from the ground. The water runs quietly nearby. It never rushes. Its sound is soft and steady, moving over smooth stones shaped by many years. He kneels near the edge, dipping a clay container into cool water. Morning air touches his face. For a few moments, the world feels very still. Farther away, sheep begin to stir. A shepherd stands near a wooden enclosure, rubbing sleep from tired eyes. The work begins early here. Animals need care before people think of resting again. Gates are opened carefully. Quiet voices guide sleepy animals into the morning light. Nothing feels dramatic. Life here is made from small repetitions. One task follows another. Slowly. Patiently. The settlement itself rests on a gentle rise overlooking fields and distant woods. Homes stand in quiet circles, built close enough for warmth and safety. Smoke drifts upward like soft gray ribbons. Nearby fields wait beneath pale skies. These fields demand patience. The people who live here understand that food grows slowly. Nothing can be rushed from the earth. Seasons decide much of life. Warm months bring work that stretches from sunrise to darkness. Colder months ask for patience and careful planning. Farming is tiring work. Hands become rough from labor. Backs ache beneath heavy baskets and endless bending. Feet grow sore from long days walking uneven ground. Yet mornings still begin quietly. A man steps into the field carrying simple tools worn smooth by use. He pauses for a moment, looking toward the hills where morning mist slowly disappears. The sky grows brighter now. Birdsong rises gently. Nearby, another worker kneels close to growing plants, carefully checking leaves touched by insects or poor weather. Crops matter deeply here. A difficult season can change everything. The work must continue. Always. Even when muscles ache. Even when sleep feels unfinished. Inside another home, grain is prepared for the morning meal. This is slow work too. A woman kneels beside a grinding stone, moving carefully and steadily. Grain becomes flour little by little beneath patient hands. The sound is soft and repetitive. Stone against grain. Again. And again. And again. There is something deeply familiar in the rhythm. Nearby, someone adds water. Simple bread will come later. Nothing elaborate waits for breakfast here. Food is plain, shaped mostly by what the land allows. Grain. Small vegetables. Milk when animals provide enough. Sometimes meat. Sometimes fish from nearby rivers. Meals depend on weather. On luck. On long effort. Yet warmth matters. Even simple food feels comforting after cold mornings. The smell of cooking slowly fills the round house. Children begin waking now. They speak quietly at first, voices still heavy with sleep. Hair messy from blankets. Eyes half closed. One child watches the fire carefully while rubbing cold hands together. Outside, daylight spreads wider across the settlement. Dogs wander between homes. A few chickens peck at the ground. Workers begin gathering tools. Soon, paths become gently busy. Not crowded. Not loud. Only filled with quiet purpose. An older man repairs a wooden fence near the edge of the village. His movements are careful and practiced. He has done this many times before. Wood weakens. Rain damages things. Wind shifts what once stood straight. Maintenance never truly ends. Everything needs attention. Roofs. Walls. Animal shelters. Storage areas. Tools. Nothing lasts forever without care. The village understands this deeply. Nearby, smoke drifts from a cooking fire into cool morning air. Someone laughs softly. Not loudly. Only enough to share a small moment of warmth. Life here contains many quiet pauses like this. Little spaces between hard work. Moments where hands rest. Where someone sits for only a few minutes beside warmth. Where tired feet stop moving. By late morning, the village feels awake. Children carry small bundles. Adults move between tasks. The sound of quiet labor spreads across the settlement. Wood being shaped. Water carried. Animals guided. Voices carried gently by wind. The world beyond the village feels wide and uncertain. Forests stretch far in some directions. Hills rise quietly beneath moving clouds. Travel is difficult. Roads are rough. Weather changes quickly. Because of this, settlements stay close. Community matters. People rely on one another. Neighbors help repair roofs. Families share food during difficult times. Stories pass quietly between generations beside warm fires. Evening gatherings matter deeply here. But that quiet comfort still waits many hours away. For now, work continues beneath the growing light of day. A fisherman walks slowly toward nearby water. He carries simple tools and hopes for enough food to return home with before darkness comes again. Rivers matter deeply in these lands. Water provides movement, food, and quiet moments of stillness. He pauses near the edge. The surface shifts softly beneath gray sky. Tiny ripples move outward. Everything feels patient, unhurried, as though the land itself breathes slowly. Hours pass gently. The warmth of day arrives. Though Celtic lands often carry cool winds and soft rain, sunlight still finds its way across fields. Workers feel its warmth while bending close to soil or walking behind animals. Tiredness comes early. Bodies work hard here. Hands crack from cold seasons. Shoulders grow sore from carrying weight. Sleep at night arrives heavily. Not because life is peaceful all the time, but because labor leaves little energy behind. In one part of the village, someone shapes clay. Careful fingers turn soft earth into bowls and storage containers. Fire will harden them later. These simple objects matter greatly. Everything useful must last. Nothing is wasted. Broken things are repaired when possible. Wood becomes tools. Animal wool becomes clothing. Firewood is gathered carefully. Winter is always somewhere ahead, even during warmer days. The thought quietly remains in people's minds. Enough food. Enough warmth. Enough safety. By afternoon, wind moves gently through grass. Children grow quieter. Even they feel tired after helping with smaller tasks. Some sit in shade near homes. Others follow older family members, learning slowly how daily life works. Knowledge passes through watching. Through doing. Through repetition. No classrooms stand here. No written schedules. Life teaches patiently. An older woman shows a child how to mend torn cloth. A shepherd teaches careful movement near nervous animals. A father shows his son how to repair worn wooden handles. Skills move from hand to hand. Season after season. Generation after generation. The day continues. Slowly. Steadily. The same way many days have passed before. And as the light begins its long quiet shift toward evening, the settlement exhales softly beneath wide skies, already preparing for another night of warm fires, tired hands, and stories carried gently into darkness. The evening arrives slowly. There is no sudden ending to the day here. No loud signal calling workers home. No sharp dividing line between labor and rest. Instead, the light changes little by little, softening gently across the hills as if the sky itself grows tired. Long shadows begin stretching over the settlement. The warmth of afternoon eases. A cooler wind slips softly through tall grass and around wooden fences. Smoke rises again from rooftops as fires are carefully prepared for the evening meal. The village, tired from its work, begins settling inward. Across the fields, figures move slowly toward home. A shepherd walks beside quiet animals returning to shelter. Their steps feel familiar. Dust rises gently beneath tired feet. The rhythm of the day has become slow and steady now, shaped by effort and repetition. No one rushes. There is nowhere urgent to be. The work ends when the light begins leaving. A farmer pauses near the edge of a field before turning back toward the settlement. His hands ache softly from the day. Dirt rests beneath his fingernails. Muscles in his shoulders feel heavy now, warmed by long hours beneath shifting skies. He takes a slow breath. The evening air feels different. Cooler. Calmer. A little softer than before. Nearby, birds settle into trees. Their songs quiet as darkness slowly begins its patient return. Inside the settlement, small fires glow brighter. The round houses seem warmer now. Their roofs catch the fading light while smoke curls upward into pale evening skies. A woman kneels near the center fire of her home, stirring a thick pot suspended carefully above warmth. Steam rises slowly into the dim air. The smell of cooking grain mixes gently with smoke and dried herbs hanging overhead. Food remains simple. But after a day of labor, warmth matters more than richness. A child sits nearby, watching the pot quietly. Sleepiness has already begun pulling gently at tired eyes. Children in these settlements often understand tiredness early. Days are long. Even small tasks require effort. Carrying water, gathering wood, helping with food preparation, watching younger siblings. Life asks something from everyone, even the young. Outside, soft conversations move between neighbors. Someone carries extra wood toward an older family member's home. Another pauses to ask about a damaged roof after recent rain. Small acts of care happen naturally here. People depend on one another. Storms arrive without warning. Harvests fail. Illness comes quietly. No family stands entirely alone for long. Near the center of the settlement, an older man sits on a low wooden stool repairing worn leather straps beside fading daylight. His hands move slowly but carefully. He has learned patience through many seasons. Nothing useful is discarded quickly here. Clothing is repaired. Tools are sharpened again and again. Wooden bowls are mended when possible. Animal hides become blankets, bags, and shoes. Everything requires labor. And labor teaches care. The sky deepens overhead. Soft gold fades toward pale blue and gray. Evening settles gently over the hills. Nearby woods darken first. Their edges seem quieter now. More still. A little mysterious beneath fading light. Most people avoid wandering too far after dark. Paths become difficult to see. Forests feel uncertain at night. Strange sounds travel farther when the world grows quiet. Better to stay near warmth. Near familiar fires. Near voices known since childhood. Inside one round house, bread cooks slowly on heated stones. The smell spreads warmly through the air. Someone tears dried herbs into a small meal. Nearby, milk rests in clay containers. Perhaps there is fish tonight if luck has been kind to someone near the river. Perhaps only grain and roots gathered earlier. Meals change with seasons. With weather. With fortune. Yet the act of eating together matters deeply. Families gather close near warmth. Bodies rest after work. Stories return softly to life. The fire glows brighter now. Orange light dances gently against curved walls made of woven wood and hardened earth. Shadows move quietly as people shift positions near warmth. Outside, darkness slowly gathers. A dog curls itself near the doorway. Children lean sleepily against parents. Some already struggle to stay awake. But evening still carries something gentle before rest arrives fully. This is the hour for stories. Not dramatic ones. Not loud adventures filled with endless excitement. Instead, stories passed carefully from older voices to younger ears. Memories of changing seasons. Warnings about weather. Quiet lessons hidden inside familiar tales. Old knowledge travels this way. No books sit on shelves here. Few written records exist. Memory matters. Words carried from mouth to ear become part of survival itself. An older woman speaks softly now. The firelight catches lines of age across her face. Her hands rest quietly in her lap as children listen nearby. Outside, wind brushes softly against the roundhouse walls. The world beyond feels darker now. Farther away. Safer to ignore. Inside, warmth remains. Someone quietly mends clothing while listening. Another sharpens a small tool near the fire. The evening stretches comfortably. No rush waits here. No pressure to fill silence. People understand quiet. After hard work, silence feels welcome. The crackling fire speaks enough. Far away, near the river, water moves patiently through darkness. Its sound never truly stops. Always moving. Always present. Fishermen know this sound well. So do travelers sleeping nearby. Water feels comforting somehow. Steady. Reliable. A reminder that some things continue even while people rest. Night grows deeper. Cold slowly returns. Blankets are prepared. Extra wood is placed near fires for warmth through sleeping hours. The center fire inside each roundhouse matters greatly. It gives warmth, light, comfort, and protection from cold nights. People sleep close together. Families gather near shared heat. Space feels small by modern standards, though no one here thinks of it that way. This closeness simply feels normal. Bodies near warmth survive winter better. Wool blankets help. Animal furs help. But fire matters most. A child finally drifts asleep near the warmth. Another soon follows. Adults speak more quietly now. Voices soften. The tiredness of labor settles heavily across the room. Outside, the settlement becomes still. Only occasional movement remains. Someone checking animals one last time. Someone stepping briefly into cool night air. Someone adding wood to a fading fire. Above, stars slowly emerge. Without city lights, the sky feels enormous. Endless. Filled with quiet brightness. People know these stars well. They help guide travelers. Mark changing seasons. Offer comfort through familiar patterns overhead. Yet most villagers are too tired tonight to spend long watching them. Morning always returns. And with it comes more work. Another early fire. Another walk to water. Another day shaped by fields, animals, weather, and patience. Life here repeats itself gently. Not in exactly the same way. But close enough. Small differences arrive. Rain. Wind. A broken tool. A good fishing day. A difficult harvest. Yet the rhythm remains steady. Predictable in its own quiet way. Inside the homes, sleep settles slowly. Someone shifts beneath blankets. The fire burns lower. Warm orange fades softer now. Outside, mist quietly begins gathering again across dark grass. The hills disappear into shadow. Silence stretches across the settlement. Only wind remains. Only distant water. Only soft breathing inside sleeping homes. Night deepens. The world feels slower now. Heavier. As if the land itself has grown sleepy. And somewhere beyond darkness, morning waits patiently, ready to return once more to these quiet Celtic days. Before the morning fully arrives, the village rests in a kind of quiet stillness that feels almost untouched. Darkness still lingers over the hills. The stars above remain soft and pale, though their brightness has begun to fade little by little. Night is slowly loosening its hold on the land. Inside the round houses, sleep continues. The fires at the center of each home burn low now, resting beneath layers of ash-like hidden warmth waiting patiently to wake again. The air feels cooler before sunrise. Smoke lingers gently overhead, caught beneath heavy thatched roofs. Outside, the world feels damp and silent. Mist stretches low across the fields, drifting softly between fences and narrow dirt paths. Grass bends beneath tiny drops of cold moisture. Wooden gates stand quietly in place, still and unmoving. Only the smallest sounds disturb the silence. A sheep shifting inside its shelter. A bird stirring somewhere unseen. The faint sound of wind brushing against tall grass. For a little while longer, the settlement belongs to stillness. Then slowly, very slowly, morning begins. A woman wakes before everyone else again. This has become part of her rhythm. Her body no longer waits for full daylight. Years of habit have quietly trained her to rise early, before the world fully asks something of her. She sits for a moment beside sleeping family members. Everything feels quiet here. The warmth of sleep still clings to blankets. Nearby, someone turns gently in rest. A child breathes slowly, wrapped beneath thick wool coverings. The woman reaches toward the fire. With careful hands, she pushes aside soft gray ash, searching for hidden heat buried beneath the darkness of yesterday's embers. There it is. Still alive. Still waiting. She adds small pieces of dried wood. A little breath. A flicker of orange. The fire returns slowly. Its warmth spreads carefully into the cool morning air. Soon, the room begins waking with it. The smell of smoke grows stronger. The shadows soften. The darkness inside the roundhouse slowly gives way to pale early light slipping through the doorway. Outside, dawn arrives quietly over the hills. The sky changes almost without notice. Dark blue fades toward silver. Clouds drift lazily above sleeping fields. Birdsong begins gently, one small sound at a time. Morning here never rushes. It unfolds patiently, as though the world itself stretches awake after long rest. The first footsteps appear outside. Someone moves toward the animal shelters carrying a wooden bucket. Another walks slowly toward stored firewood stacked carefully against a wall. Everyone knows their work. No instructions are needed. Routine carries the village forward. The shepherd reaches the animals before sunrise fully settles. The sheep greet him softly, their quiet movements stirring dry straw beneath tired feet. He checks fences first. Always the fences. A damaged fence can mean trouble. Animals wandering. Lost food. Uncertainty. Life depends on small acts of care. He runs rough hands over weathered wood, checking what survived yesterday's wind. Everything seems fine. For now. Nearby, another villager prepares for a walk to the stream. Water must always be gathered. Again and again. Every day. Clay containers are carried carefully over familiar paths shaped by countless footsteps. Morning dampness clings to sandals. The stream waits nearby. Its water moves gently over smooth stones, clear and quiet beneath pale skies. Mist hovers above the surface. Everything feels cool. Fresh. Still touched by night. The villager kneels slowly, dipping containers into the flowing water. There is comfort in familiar tasks. Even repetitive work becomes calming in a way. The hands already know what to do. The body moves without needing much thought. Perhaps this is why mornings here feel peaceful despite hard work waiting ahead. No one expects comfort from luxury. Comfort comes from familiarity. From routines repeated enough times to feel safe. Back inside the settlement, breakfast slowly begins. Grain is prepared once more. A grinding stone moves steadily beneath practiced hands. The sound feels soft. Rhythmic. Stone against grain. Again. And again. The motion requires patience. Strength too. Small clouds of dust rise into morning air. Nearby, water warms over fire. Simple meals take shape. Nothing rich. Nothing complicated. But enough. Enough to begin another long day. Children slowly wake now. Some sit quietly near warmth, still wrapped in sleepiness. Hair falls across tired faces. Small hands reach toward the fire for warmth. Morning cold feels sharp before sunlight grows stronger. One child watches smoke drift upward into the roof. Another quietly eats while listening to nearby adults speak softly about weather. Weather matters every day. Rain changes plans. Cold slows work. Strong winds damage roofs. The sky feels important here in ways difficult to fully explain. People watch clouds carefully. Listen to changes in air. Notice small shifts others might miss. The land speaks quietly if someone knows how to listen. Outside, sunlight finally touches the tops of distant hills. Warm gold moves slowly across grass. The settlement grows busier. People step between homes carrying baskets, tools, rope, or freshly gathered water. The day has truly begun now. A young boy helps carry wood toward an older neighbor's home. The pieces feel heavy in his arms. But helping matters. Children learn responsibility early here. Small tasks slowly become larger ones over time. No moment arrives when adulthood suddenly begins. It grows quietly. Like seasons changing. Little by little. A group of workers heads toward nearby fields. Their tools rest against shoulders worn from years of labor. Faces look calm but tired. There is always work waiting. Soil needs care. Plants need watching. Animals need feeding. Nothing pauses for long. One woman bends close to a small garden near her home. Her hands work patiently in the soil, checking roots and leaves. Food requires attention every day. Neglect has consequences. Nature asks for effort. Sometimes rewards arrive. Sometimes they do not. This uncertainty stays quietly present in village life. People understand that survival depends partly on work and partly on things beyond control. Rain comes or does not. Winter arrives early or late. Illness visits unexpectedly. Still, life continues. Always. Nearby, someone repairs fishing nets worn thin from use. The river provides when luck allows. Fish matter, especially during difficult seasons. The work of mending requires focus. Careful fingers move patiently through damaged fibers. Nothing useful can be wasted. Time itself feels slower here. Without clocks dividing every hour, the day unfolds through sunlight, hunger, tiredness, and changing weather. Morning slowly becomes afternoon. The sun climbs higher. Heat settles gently across open land. Though Celtic lands rarely burn with desert warmth, labor still grows tiring beneath daylight. Sweat forms. Shoulders ache. Feet grow sore. Workers pause sometimes for water and short rests. Not long. Just enough. Enough to keep moving. A woman carrying gathered herbs pauses near shade for a moment. She sits quietly. Listening. The wind moves softly through grass. Somewhere nearby, sheep bells sound faintly. The world feels steady. Predictable. And for a few moments, there is only rest. Only breathing. Only sunlight moving across the earth. Back inside the settlement, older villagers continue quieter work. Repairing baskets. Preparing food. Watching younger children too small for field labor. Wisdom gathers slowly with age here. Older hands move differently. Slower perhaps. But often more carefully. Knowledge matters deeply. Someone remembers when winter arrived early. Someone remembers where to gather useful plants. Someone remembers stories that teach patience during difficult seasons. Memory itself becomes valuable. As afternoon stretches onward, shadows slowly begin changing again. The sun softens. Wind cools slightly. The village moves through another ordinary day. No grand event arrives. No dramatic moment interrupts the rhythm. Only life. Slow. Steady. Familiar. And somewhere in the distance, smoke already rises from one home preparing quietly for evening once again. The afternoon grows softer now. The brightest part of the day has quietly passed, though warmth still lingers over the settlement. Sunlight rests gently across the hills, touching stone, grass, and worn paths with a sleepy golden glow. The village breathes more slowly at this hour. Morning energy has faded. Tiredness settles softly into shoulders and feet. Even the animals seem quieter. A shepherd pauses beneath the shade of a broad tree near the edge of a grazing field. Nearby sheep move lazily through tall grass, stopping now and then to pull at patches of green. The shepherd sits for a while. Not sleeping. Only resting. His back leans against rough bark warmed by sunlight. Hands, worn rough from long seasons outdoors, rest quietly in his lap. He listens. Wind moving through distant trees. The soft tearing sound of animals feeding. The faint call of birds overhead. Nothing asks to be hurried here. The land moves at its own pace. And people learn, slowly, to move with it. Farther inside the settlement, smoke rises lazily from several rooftops. Some homes have already begun preparing food for the evening meal. Fires crackle softly inside round houses while pots warm patiently over glowing embers. The smell of wood smoke drifts through the air. Earthy. Warm. Familiar. A woman kneels near a clay pot, stirring slowly while daylight stretches through the doorway. Nearby, herbs gathered earlier rest carefully bundled on a wooden surface. Some will flavor food. Others may be saved for sickness or cold days. Knowledge of plants passes quietly through families here. One person learns from another. An older hand guiding a younger one. A quiet explanation beside a garden. A patient reminder of which roots help and which must be avoided. Learning often happens gently. Without ceremony. Without books. Only through watching. Repeating. Remembering. Outside, children still move through the settlement, though more slowly than before. Earlier energy has begun fading. One child carries a small bundle of sticks gathered from nearby woods. Another follows an older sibling toward the water with careful steps along a familiar path. The stream continues its quiet work nearby. Always moving. Always present. Cool water slips over smooth stone beneath shifting sunlight. Small insects hover near the edges while birds dip briefly toward the surface before disappearing again. The path toward water has grown smooth from many years of use. Feet know where to step. Where the ground dips unexpectedly. Where stones become slippery after rain. Daily routines shape the land itself. The settlement carries these signs quietly. Worn trails. Bent grass. Smoke-darkened roofs. Fences repaired again and again. Nothing remains untouched by time. An older man works beside one of these fences now. He replaces a damaged section slowly, carefully tying wood into place. His movements are unhurried. There is no reason to rush. Rushing often leads to mistakes. Mistakes bring more work later. Better to move carefully. Better to do things well the first time. He pauses occasionally, stretching sore hands. Age has changed how his body moves. Joints ache more easily. Cold mornings feel sharper. Still, work continues. Just slower than before. Nearby, a younger villager sharpens a farming tool against stone. The scraping sound rises softly into warm afternoon air. Tools matter deeply here. A dull blade slows work. Broken handles mean delays. Every object receives care because replacing things is difficult. Time and effort sit inside every tool. Wood must be gathered. Metal traded or carefully shaped. Nothing arrives easily. Nothing appears without labor. Above the settlement, clouds drift lazily. Some days promise rain. Others stay clear. People notice these changes immediately. Weather lives close to daily life. A sudden storm may change plans. Wet fields slow movement. Heavy winds test roofs and fences. Even the smell of air can hint at what might come. An older woman steps outside and lifts her eyes toward the sky. She studies the clouds quietly. Perhaps she remembers signs learned long ago. Perhaps she simply listens to instinct shaped through many seasons. Either way, the sky matters. It always matters. Inside one round house, afternoon light falls gently across woven baskets filled with grain. The room feels warm now. Soft shadows move against curved walls. A child sits near the doorway twisting small strands of wool between patient fingers. Nearby, an older family member repairs clothing worn thin through daily use. Everything lasts as long as possible. Wool cloaks are patched. Blankets mended. Shoes repaired again and again. Life here asks for patience more than abundance. Comfort exists. But it comes differently. It comes from warmth near a fire. From food after long labor. From knowing neighbors nearby. From sleeping safely while rain falls outside. Small things feel meaningful. A fresh loaf of bread. Dry clothes after storms. A quiet evening without trouble. Even rest itself becomes precious. In the fields, workers begin gathering tools now. The day has not ended. But the body knows when tiredness grows heavy. Shoulders tighten. Feet grow slower. The warmth of afternoon settles deeply into muscles. One farmer stands quietly for a moment, wiping tired hands against worn fabric. He looks across the fields. Rows of growing crops stretch softly beneath fading light. Nothing grows quickly. Everything asks for waiting. Seeds become food only through patience. People here understand this better than most. Much of life feels like waiting while still working. Waiting for rain. Waiting for harvest. Waiting for winter to pass. Waiting for tiredness to fade before morning comes again. Yet waiting does not feel empty. There is always something to do. Always something needing care. Back near the village center, someone carries freshly gathered wood toward home. Even in warmer months, firewood matters. Nights grow cold. Cooking requires steady heat. Preparation never truly ends. People quietly think ahead. Winter may still feel far away. But eventually it always arrives. Cold winds. Dark mornings. Frozen ground. Food stored now may matter greatly later. This thought stays quietly present in daily life. Not fearful. Simply practical. The rhythm of preparation never fully stops. A fisherman returns from the river. His walk is slow. Tired. A woven basket rests at his side. Perhaps the day has been generous. Perhaps not. Fishing always asks for patience too. Some days the river gives little. Other days enough. He pauses near the settlement edge, listening for a moment to familiar sounds. Voices drifting gently. Smoke rising. Animals settling. Home feels close now. Comfortingly close. As sunlight slowly lowers, the village changes again. Long shadows stretch farther. Warm gold deepens across the land. The pace softens even more. Voices grow quieter. Work begins folding itself gently into evening. Someone calls softly to gather animals. Doors open and close. Water is carried one last time. Hands are washed. Tools returned carefully to familiar places. Nothing dramatic marks the shift. Only tiredness. Only habit. Only the slow turning of another ordinary day. Inside homes, fires burn brighter again. Orange warmth flickers across familiar walls. Pots begin to simmer. The smell of cooking drifts outward into cooling air. Children grow quieter now. Sleep already pulling gently at their thoughts. Outside, the first hints of evening wind brush softly across the hills. And above the settlement, the sky begins changing color once more, preparing quietly for another long and gentle night. Evening settles over the settlement like a blanket placed gently across tired shoulders. The warmth of the day slowly slips away. Cool air moves carefully over the hills and through narrow paths between homes. Smoke rises steadily into the quiet sky, drifting softly before disappearing into fading light. The village grows calmer now. Not silent. Only slower. The sounds of work begin fading one by one. Wooden tools are carried indoors. Animal gates close with familiar care. Soft voices drip through cooling air. The long rhythm of labor begins giving way to rest. Near the edge of the settlement, the shepherd leads animals toward shelter. The sheep move more slowly now, tired from wandering fields through the day. Dust clings softly to their legs. Small sounds rise from the group as they settle into familiar places for the night. The shepherd pauses for a moment beside the wooden fence. His back aches. His legs feel heavy. The day has rested deeply inside his muscles. Still, there is comfort in finishing the work. Animals are safe. The gates are secure. Morning will arrive soon enough. But not yet. For now, there is evening. And evening feels softer. Closer somehow. Back inside the settlement, fires glow brighter in every roundhouse. Warm orange light spills gently through doorways onto packed earth outside. Shadows move quietly across curved walls while smoke curls upward through openings in the roof. Inside one home, dinner slowly takes shape. A thick stew warms above the fire. Simple ingredients. Roots gathered earlier. Grain. A few herbs. Perhaps fish if someone's luck held steady beside the river. Perhaps only bread and warm broth tonight. No one expects grand meals. Food is valued because effort lives inside every bite. Fields require labor. Fishing requires patience. Animals require care. Warm food at the end of a long day feels deeply earned. A woman tears bread into smaller pieces near the fire. Her hands move slowly now. Tiredness has softened her pace. Nearby, children sit close together, wrapped in the warmth of smoke and firelight. Their voices are quieter than before. Heavy-eyed. Sleep beginning to gather gently around them. One child leans against an older sibling. Another stares quietly into the flames. Fire has a way of slowing everything. Its warmth asks people to sit. To pause. To rest aching feet. Outside, darkness gathers little by little. The hills fade into shadow. The distant woods grow quiet. Birdsong begins disappearing into the night. Only wind remains. And the occasional soft sound of animals settling into sleep. Near another home, neighbors speak together quietly. Nothing urgent. Nothing dramatic. Only ordinary conversation shaped by familiar lives. Someone speaks of weather. Another mentions damaged fencing. Someone laughs softly at a memory from earlier in the day. Life here moves through these small moments. Tiny exchanges. Shared labor. Shared tiredness. Community grows quietly this way. Not through grand gestures. But through repeated kindness. An extra piece of bread shared during hard times. Help repairing a roof after storms. Watching another family's animals for a day. People depend on one another because they must. The world beyond feels uncertain. Forests can feel lonely. Travel difficult. Winters long. Nearby people become important. Comforting. Necessary. Inside the homes, evening meals begin. Families gather close near warmth. Bowls pass carefully from hand to hand. Steam rises gently into smoky air. The smell feels grounding somehow. Simple food. Warm food. Enough food. Sometimes that alone feels like fortune. The tiredness of work changes how meals feel. Even plain bread tastes welcome after long hours outdoors. Hands that carried water. Hands that worked fields. Hands that repaired tools all day finally rest for a while. A man stretches sore shoulders beside the fire. The warmth eases stiffness little by little. Nearby, someone rubs tired feet after walking many miles across rough ground. Bodies speak quietly at the end of the day. A sore back. Heavy legs. Cold fingers finally warming again. Labor leaves its mark. Yet there is satisfaction too. The work is finished. At least for now. Night offers a small pause. Outside, stars slowly appear overhead. The sky here feels endless. Without bright lights, Darkness stretches far in every direction. Stars gather softly above hills and sleeping woods. People know these skies. Children grow up watching them. Travelers use them. Older villagers remember certain seasons by how the night sky changes. The stars feel familiar. Steady. Present across many generations. Inside one round house, an older man begins telling a story softly. Nothing dramatic. Only an old memory passed forward again. Children listen quietly while shadows flicker across the walls. Stories matter here. They hold lessons. Warnings. Memories of hard winters survived. Knowledge hidden gently inside words. One story teaches patience. Another reminds listeners to respect changing weather. Some stories simply help pass long evenings during colder months. Outside, wind brushes softly against thatched roofs. The night grows cooler. Mist begins gathering low near the fields. The settlement looks different now. Smaller somehow. More hidden beneath darkness. Fires glowing from inside homes become warm islands of light. Each one holding tired people close together. Inside, blankets begin appearing. Wool coverings pulled closer. Children yawn openly now. One drifts asleep before the story even finishes. Another struggles to stay awake but slowly loses the quiet battle against tiredness. Adults smile gently. They remember this feeling. Long days always end this way. Work uses energy fully here. Sleep comes naturally. Deeply. Outside one home, a woman steps briefly into the cool air. She pauses for a moment. The night feels still. Cold touches her face. Somewhere nearby, water moves quietly in the darkness. The river never truly sleeps. Its steady sound remains even now. Soft. Patient. Constant. Above, clouds drift slowly past scattered stars. The world feels large and quiet at night. Yet the settlement feels safe. Familiar paths. Known voices. Warm fires nearby. She stands for another moment before stepping back inside. Warmth greets her immediately. Smoke. Bread. The soft crackle of fire. A kind of ordinary comfort. Nearby, an older villager adds another piece of wood to glowing embers. The fire brightens briefly. Orange light dances across worn hands. Hands shaped by years of labor. Years of planting. Building. Repairing. Wading through winters. Hands that know the rhythm of this place better than words can explain. Slowly, the village begins surrendering to sleep. Voices soften. Stories end. Bowls are set aside. People shift closer to warmth. The fire burns lower. Outside, darkness deepens fully now. The hills disappear into shadow. Only stars remain above. Only quiet. Only wind moving softly through grass. Inside each round house, breathing slows. Children sleep first. Then adults. One by one. The settlement rests beneath the night. And somewhere beyond the darkness, another morning already waits patiently, carrying more quiet labor, more familiar routines, and another slow day inside these ancient Celtic hills. Long before the sun rises again, the settlement rests beneath a quiet and patient darkness. The night feels deep now. Cold settles softly over the hills like mist drifting through grass. Roofs glisten faintly beneath moisture gathered from the cooling air. The paths between homes sit empty beneath the wide sky, worn smooth by many footsteps but still for now. Nothing asks for movement. Nothing asks for labor. For a little while, the village simply sleeps. Inside the round houses, warmth remains close to the ground. The fires have burned low again, resting beneath quiet blankets of ash. Their glow is faint now. Only small hints of red remain hidden beneath soft gray, waiting patiently for morning hands to wake them once more. Families sleep close together. Blankets of thick wool cover tired bodies. Animal skins add extra warmth where winter cold still lingers in memory, even during softer seasons. Children curl near parents. A dog sleeps beside the doorway, rising only slightly at distant sounds before settling again. The room smells gently of smoke. Of dried herbs hanging overhead. Of wool warmed through long use. Of yesterday's fire still lingering softly in the air. Outside, clouds drift slowly across the sky. Sometimes stars appear. Sometimes darkness feels heavier when clouds pass overhead. The world beyond the settlement grows difficult to see now. The hills disappear. The woods blend into shadow. Only familiar shapes remain. A fence. A doorway. A stack of gathered wood waiting beside a wall. Even in sleep, the settlement feels lived in. Quietly cared for. A place shaped through many ordinary days. Far off, an owl moves through the darkness. Its call rises softly across the fields before fading into stillness again. The sound feels lonely for only a moment. Then silence returns. Deep and comfortable. The river nearby continues its endless movement. Water slips over stone as it always has. As it always will for many years beyond these quiet nights. The villagers know its sound well. Some barely notice it anymore. Others find comfort in it. A steady reminder that the world continues gently even while people rest. Time feels strange during these sleeping hours. There are no lamps burning late into the night. No busy roads. No distant noise carried through darkness. Only rest. Only waiting. Only sleep arriving deeply after hard labor. Eventually, one person stirs. Not because dawn has fully arrived. Only because long habit wakes the body before light. An older man shifts beneath blankets. He listens for a moment. The settlement still sleeps. The air feels cold against tired skin. He stays where he is a little longer. The fire has nearly disappeared now. The room feels darker. Quiet enough to hear breathing nearby. Quiet enough to hear wind brushing softly against the outside walls. There is something comforting in these moments before morning. The work has not yet begun. No fields waiting. No tools needing repair. No water to carry. Only stillness. Only the feeling of resting between one long day and another. Eventually, pale gray begins touching the edges of darkness. Very slowly. Almost too slowly to notice. Morning approaches gently here. Never suddenly. Clouds shift overhead. The sky changes little by little. Birds begin stirring somewhere near the trees. Small sounds return first. A rustle. A wing moving through cold air. The faint shifting of animals preparing to wake. Inside the round houses, movement begins again. A woman sits up carefully beside sleeping children. Her body remembers its duties before her thoughts fully wake. Another day waits. Another fire. Another meal. Another slow rhythm shaped by work. She kneels near yesterday's ashes. The room still feels cool. The fire nearly gone. But warmth hides underneath. Always. If someone knows where to look. Careful fingers move aside ash. A tiny glow remains. Enough. Just enough. She places dry grass beside it. Then small pieces of wood. A quiet breath. A pause. A flicker. Light returns softly. The fire wakes. Slowly. Patiently. Warmth begins spreading outward. Orange light touches the curved walls of the round house. Shadows shift. Smoke rises once again. Morning begins inside before it fully arrives outside. Nearby, another family wakes in much the same way. The rhythm repeats across the settlement. Fire after fire returning to life. Doors opening softly. Footsteps beginning again. Outside, mist stretches across open fields. Grass bends beneath cold moisture. The air smells clean, fresh, touched by earth and quiet rain from days before. A young girl steps outside carrying an empty container for water. She pauses for a moment near the doorway. The morning feels cold on her face. She pulls wool closer around her shoulders. Nearby, smoke rises slowly from neighboring homes. The village looks peaceful at this hour. Small, hidden, nestled gently into the hills. The path toward the stream feels familiar beneath tired feet. She knows every turn, every stone near the water's edge. The stream itself moves calmly through pale morning light. Mist drifts above the surface. Tiny ripples catch the growing brightness of dawn. She kneels, fills the container, pauses briefly to watch the water. There is something soothing about watching it move. No hurry, no struggle, only steady motion. Back in the settlement, breakfast begins taking shape once again. Grinding stones move softly. The familiar rhythm returns. Stone against grain. Again. And again. And again. A sound heard almost every morning. Nearby, someone stirs a pot carefully over warming firelight. Simple food waits. Enough to begin the day. Nothing elaborate. But warmth matters. Warm meals matter. Especially on cold mornings. Children slowly wake one by one. Some still sleepy. Others already helping with small tasks. A boy gathers wood from a dry pile outside. Another helps tidy sleeping blankets. Even young hands learn responsibility here. No task feels too small. Everything helps. Everything matters. Morning spreads farther now. The sky brightens over distant hills. Birdsong grows stronger. Animals begin moving inside their shelters. The shepherd stretches tired muscles before beginning another day. His legs still remember yesterday's long hours. His back aches softly. But the routine feels familiar. Comforting even. The gate opens. The sheep stir. Another ordinary day begins. And across the settlement, people move gently into morning once more, carried quietly by routines older than memory itself. The morning grows steadier as the light slowly spreads across the hills. Mist still rests low over the land, though little by little it begins to lift. Sunlight touches the edges of rooftops first, warming damp straw and worn wooden fences. The cold of early morning softens gently. The settlement is fully waking now. Smoke rises from nearly every roundhouse. Thin gray ribbons drifting quietly into pale skies. The smell of breakfast lingers in the cool air. Warm grain. Wood smoke. Damp earth slowly drying beneath growing sunlight. People step into the day carefully. No one rushes. There is too much work for hurry to matter. Everything will take time regardless. A woman carries a woven basket outside and pauses near the doorway of her home. She stands quietly for a moment, warming her hands near the morning light before beginning another long day. Nearby, someone calls softly to a child helping gather kindling. A dog wanders lazily between homes, nose close to the ground, following familiar scents from one doorway to another. The settlement feels alive again. Not noisy. Only quietly busy. Movement happens everywhere in small ways. A bucket carried toward water. A fence repaired. A basket woven. A tool lifted for another day of work. Each task seems ordinary. Yet together they shape survival. Near the animal shelters, the shepherd begins leading sheep toward open grazing land. Morning dew clings softly to the grass beneath tired sandals. The animals move slowly at first, still carrying sleep inside their movements. The shepherd walks quietly behind them. This path feels deeply familiar. He has walked it many times. During rain. During cold winds. During warm afternoons when sunlight lingers long across the hills. The work rarely changes. And perhaps there is comfort in that. The sheep know the route too. Past the stream. Across uneven hills. Toward wide fields where grass grows thick enough to feed them. The shepherd pauses once near a hillside, glancing toward the settlement behind him. Smoke rises gently into morning air. The village looks small from here. Small and safe. A cluster of warm roofs beneath endless sky. Farther below, villagers continue their routines. In one roundhouse, an older woman carefully sorts herbs gathered over many seasons. Some are dried and tied into bundles. Others are crushed gently into mixtures used when sickness arrives. People here learn early that illness visits without warning. Cold weather weakens bodies. Injuries from tools happen suddenly. A fever can arrive quietly in the night. Knowledge of healing matters deeply. Though medicine remains simple, experience teaches much. Someone remembers which leaves ease pain. Which roots soothe tired bodies. Which teas bring warmth during long winters. Knowledge moves quietly from generation to generation. No books record these things. Only memory. Only careful watching. Outside, sunlight grows stronger. Children begin helping with small tasks near their homes. One gathers sticks fallen beside a fence. Another helps carry water in smaller containers, moving carefully to avoid spilling precious drops. The youngest children stay closer to home. Watching. Learning. Life teaches through observation. A child watches bread being prepared enough times, and one day their hands know how to do it too. A boy watches someone repair tools long enough, and slowly he learns where wood bends strongest. No grand lessons announce themselves here. Learning arrives quietly. Like weather changing. Little by little. Near the stream, two villagers wash clay containers beside flowing water. The riverbank feels peaceful this morning. Cool air lingers near the surface while sunlight dances gently across moving water. The stream never stops. Even during cold seasons, it continues quietly through the land. Villagers depend on it deeply. For drinking water. For washing. For fish when luck allows. Sometimes for moments of stillness too. One villager pauses for a moment after filling containers. The sound of water feels calming. Steady. Almost sleepy. The hills rise silently nearby. Birds move overhead. Nothing feels urgent. Though work waits, there is space for quiet pauses. Back near the center of the settlement, an older man sharpens farming tools beside his home. Metal scrapes softly against stone. Again. And again. The rhythm feels almost meditative. Sharp tools matter. A damaged blade slows planting. A broken handle creates extra work. Everything must last. Everything deserves care. He runs weathered fingers along the edge, checking the work carefully. Satisfied, he sets it aside. Another tool waits. There is always another task. Yet strangely, this endless work rarely feels chaotic. Only steady. Predictable. Expected. The seasons guide much of life here. Spring asks for planting. Summer asks for labor beneath long days. Autumn brings gathering and preparation. Winter asks for patience beside warm fires. People move with these changes because they must. Resistance changes nothing. Nature decides much. People simply learn how to follow. The morning stretches onward. Sunlight climbs higher into the sky. Mist disappears fully now. The warmth of day begins resting softly across open fields. Workers bend low near growing crops. Hands move carefully through soil. Someone checks plants damaged by insects. Another clears weeds growing too close to food meant for colder months ahead. The work feels endless. Because in many ways it is. Fields always need tending. Animals always need watching. Homes always need repair. Yet within repetition comes familiarity. and within familiarity comes something close to peace. Nearby, a woman carrying gathered wool pauses to rest for a moment beside a fence. She sits quietly, listening. Wind brushes softly through grass. The distant sound of sheep drifts across hills. Farther away, someone laughs gently. Only for a moment. Then quiet returns. She closes tired eyes briefly. Morning labor already rests inside her shoulders. But rest cannot last long. There is spinning to finish. Clothing to repair. Food to prepare before evening arrives. Life asks much. But people here rarely speak of fairness. Things simply are. Rain falls. Winter comes. Work continues. The sun moves higher still. Warmth settles more fully over the settlement. Children grow quieter now, focused on small jobs. Adults move steadily between work already familiar to tired hands. And somewhere beyond the hills, unseen but patiently approaching, afternoon slowly waits its turn to arrive. The day moves quietly toward afternoon. By now, the cool feeling of morning has mostly drifted away. Sunlight rests warmly across the hills, touching tall grass and worn earth with a soft brightness that feels calm rather than harsh. The settlement continues its slow rhythm. Nothing has stopped. Nothing truly pauses for long here. Yet the pace changes as the day grows older. Morning energy softens. Movements become steadier. More measured. People work without hurry, saving strength for hours still ahead. Near the fields, farmers bend close to growing crops. Their hands move through soil darkened by old rain. Small weeds are pulled gently from the earth. Broken stems are noticed and carefully examined. Food asks for attention. Always. No season allows complete rest. Even when plants seem healthy, someone watches closely. Too much rain brings trouble. Too little rain brings trouble too. Animals sometimes wander too close. Insects arrive quietly. The land gives, but it also asks. A farmer straightens slowly, resting sore muscles for a moment. The warmth of sunlight sits across tired shoulders now. Sweat gathers lightly along the forehead. Dirt clings beneath fingernails worn rough by long seasons of work. The body feels heavy already. Yet the work continues. One row at a time. One careful task after another. Nearby, a young child carries a small bundle of gathered herbs back toward the settlement. The task feels important, even if the hands carrying them are small. Children here learn by doing. No one waits for them to grow older before teaching responsibility. Small jobs become larger ones. Simple tasks become familiar habits. One day, without noticing exactly when it happened, childhood slowly fades into working life. The path back toward the village feels warm beneath tired feet. Grass bends softly in the afternoon breeze. Insects hum quietly near the edges of wild plants. The air smells faintly of earth warmed by sunlight. Everything feels settled somehow. As though the world already knows exactly what comes next. Inside the settlement, the sounds of quiet labor continue. Someone repairs a cracked wooden handle near the doorway of a round house. Careful hands smooth rough edges before fitting the wood back into place. Nearby, another villager sits weaving strips of material into a basket. The movement feels steady. Gentle. Almost peaceful. Hands move without much thought now, guided by years of repetition. Weaving takes patience. The work cannot be rushed. A careless moment weakens the shape. A basket made poorly may not survive long. And things here must survive. Everything matters. Food storage matters. Dry blankets matter. Strong roofs matter. Useful tools matter. Life grows harder when ordinary things fail. Inside one round house, afternoon warmth fills the room softly. Sunlight slips through the doorway, resting in pale shapes against packed earth floors. The fire burns lower during this part of the day, saving wood for evening when warmth will matter more. An older woman sits beside hanging bundles of dried plants. She works quietly, sorting leaves into neat groups. Nearby, a younger family member watches closely. No formal lesson begins. No speech announces importance. The learning happens naturally. Quietly. The younger hands imitate the older ones. A question is asked softly. An answer follows. Knowledge passes forward. Slowly. Patiently. Like water moving downstream. Outside, a fisherman returns briefly from the river carrying repaired nets. The river has been calm today. Perhaps later he will try again. Fishing often depends on patience more than skill. Some days the water gives little. Other days enough to share. No one fully controls luck. Still, people try. The river remains part of life here. Its steady movement feels familiar. Comforting even. Many villagers know it sounds better than silence. The sound of water slipping over stone. The quiet splash of movement near the surface. Wind brushing across slow currents. The river waits nearby through every season. Always changing. Yet always there. The warmth of afternoon grows heavier now. Even the animals slow their movements. Sheep rest in shade where they can find it. Dogs stretch lazily near doorways. Chickens wander without hurry across packed earth. The village itself feels sleepy during these middle hours. Not asleep. Only quieter. A little slower. Tiredness begins gathering before evening fully arrives. A woman carrying water pauses beneath shade for a few moments. She sets down the heavy container carefully. Shoulders ache. Arms feel tired. The weight of ordinary work adds up over time. No single task feels impossible. Yet together they shape the body. Hands roughen. Backs stiffen. Feet grow sore. Life here leaves signs. Visible ones. Still, there are moments of softness too. The breeze feels pleasant after long labor. Cool water tastes especially good after work. A few moments sitting in shade become deeply welcome. Nearby, two older villagers sit quietly repairing worn fabric. Their conversation drifts slowly between small things. Weather. Animals. Who needs help fixing a fence after recent wind? Simple concerns. Ordinary concerns. Yet important ones. Community lives inside these small exchanges. No grand speeches hold people together. Only repeated care. Repeated presence. Repeated help. One person remembers when another family struggled through winter. Someone else recalls helping repair storm damage years ago. Shared memory becomes part of belonging. Across the fields, the shepherd watches animals grazing lazily. The afternoon stretches long now. Clouds drift overhead. Wind brushes softly through grass. There are long quiet moments in this work. Moments when nothing happens at all. Only watching. Waiting. Listening. Perhaps this is why shepherds often become patient people. The work teaches slowness. The hills themselves seem to ask for it. Back near the settlement, preparations for evening begin quietly. Not fully. Not yet. But thoughts already move there. Wood is gathered. Food checked. Water carried one more time. People know daylight changes quickly once the sun begins lowering. Preparation matters. It always matters. The sky slowly softens above the hills. The brightest light begins easing. Shadows stretch a little farther than before. No one speaks much about time. But everyone feels it. The body knows. The land knows. The quiet turning of the day continues as it always has. And little by little, almost unnoticed, afternoon begins leaning gently toward evening once more. The afternoon slowly loosens its hold on the hills. Sunlight grows softer now, warmer in color and gentler against tired faces. Long shadows begin stretching across the settlement, touching fences, rooftops, and narrow paths worn smooth by years of footsteps. The day has not ended, but people feel evening slowly approaching. There is a quiet understanding in the air. Work continues, though movements become slower now. Bodies begin carrying the heaviness of many hours spent outdoors. Hands ache softly. Feet feel worn. The familiar tiredness of daily life settles into muscles. Near the grazing fields, the shepherd rises from a short moment of rest. The sheep have wandered peacefully today, moving through tall grass beneath open skies. Now comes the slow work of guiding them back. Nothing about it feels hurried. The animals know the path well. So does the shepherd. Together they begin the familiar journey toward home. The sound of soft movement carries gently across the hills. Hooves brushing earth. Grass bending beneath careful steps. The quiet call of someone guiding animals through fading light. Far behind them, the settlement waits. Smoke has already begun rising from some homes. Thin gray trails curling gently upward. Evening fires are beginning again. Inside one round house, a woman kneels beside stored grain. Her hands move carefully through woven containers, measuring what can be used tonight and what must be saved. Every choice matters. Food is never taken for granted here. Winter waits somewhere ahead, even during warm days. No one forgets this. Enough must remain. Enough for colder weather. Enough if crops struggle later. Careful thinking lives inside ordinary routines. Nothing feels wasteful. Nearby, a younger family member helps prepare vegetables gathered earlier. Simple food. Familiar food. Meals shaped by seasons and patience. The smell of herbs begins rising into the room. Outside, someone returns carrying fresh water. The heavy container pulls gently at tired arms. Water has been gathered many times already today. Still, evening asks for one more trip. Cooking needs it. Washing needs it. Morning will need it too. The stream continues its quiet service nearby, flowing patiently as it always has. Its sound feels softer now beneath changing skies. Cooler somehow. Even water seems calmer in evening light. A young boy pauses along the path home. For a moment, he watches sunlight resting across the hills. The grass glows softly. Birds move overhead in slow patterns. Far away, clouds drift lazily toward places he has never seen. The world beyond the settlement feels large. Mysterious. Yet distant. Home feels nearer. Safer. The smell of smoke already reaches him. Warm food waits. Familiar voices wait. The comfort of evening waits too. Back in the village, tools begin returning to familiar places. A farmer leans a wooden tool carefully beside the wall of his home. Before stepping inside, he checks it briefly. A loose piece of wood will need repair tomorrow. There is always tomorrow's work quietly waiting. Something to fix. Something to carry. Something needing care. Life never fully stops asking. Yet strangely, people grow used to this rhythm. The work itself becomes familiar enough to feel almost comforting. Predictable. Steady. Reliable in its own way. Inside another round house, an older woman sits beside a child near the fire. Her hands move slowly as she repairs worn fabric. The child watches closely. Questions come quietly. Answers follow just as softly. No lesson feels formal. Only shared time. Watching. Repeating. Learning. One day the child's hands will know this work too. Outside, dogs wander between homes. Animals sense evening in their own ways. They settle closer to warmth. Closer to people. Even the chickens grow quieter now, gathering into familiar places as daylight fades. The air changes during this hour. Cooler winds return. The smell of damp grass rises again. The warmth of afternoon slowly disappears into memory. Above the settlement, clouds turn soft shades of gray and pale gold. The sky feels wider somehow at this time of day. Quieter too. Birdsong becomes gentler. Less frequent. As if the land itself is growing sleepy. Near the center of the settlement, someone stacks fresh wood beside the doorway. Enough for tonight. Enough to keep warmth close until morning. Fire matters deeply here. Without it, evenings feel cold. Meals feel harder. Darkness feels heavier. The glow of fire changes everything. Warmth spreads. Stories begin. Bodies rest. Children fall asleep nearby. Inside homes, preparations for dinner continue steadily now. Pots warm slowly over glowing flames. Steam rises gently. The smell of cooking fills the air between homes. Simple meals again. But comforting ones. After long labor, even plain food feels rich in its own quiet way. A tired worker sits briefly outside before stepping indoors. For a moment, he simply rests. Hands folded. Eyes half closed. Listening. The sound of distant sheep returning. Soft voices drifting nearby. The wind brushing through grass. The settlement feels peaceful during these moments. Held gently between work and sleep. Not fully busy anymore. Not fully resting yet. Just slowing. Gradually. Naturally. Near the river, the fisherman finally makes his way home. The water behind him moves quietly through evening light. Today was neither especially generous nor disappointing. Just ordinary. And ordinary feels acceptable here. Some days ask for patience. Others bring enough. People learn not to expect certainty. Only effort. Only routine. Only hope shaped by work. The first true signs of dusk begin appearing now. Shadows deepen. The hills darken slowly. Smoke rises more steadily from rooftops. Voices drift indoors. The settlement gathers itself inward once more. Toward warmth. Toward firelight. Toward familiar company after another long day. And quietly, gently, evening begins settling across the ancient hills again, carrying with it the promise of rest for tired hands and sleepy eyes. Evening settles more deeply now. The last warmth of the afternoon slowly drifts away, leaving behind cool air that moves gently through the settlement. The hills darken little by little, soft shapes resting beneath a sky slowly changing from pale gold into deeper shades of blue. Smoke rises steadily from every roundhouse. The smell of burning wood drifts softly across the village. Warm. Familiar. Comforting. This is the hour when people slowly turn inward. The work of fields and paths begins giving way to quieter things. Meals. Stories. Rest. Near the edge of the settlement, the shepherd finally returns with the animals. The sheep move lazily through the gate, already tired from a full day spent wandering hillsides. Dust clings softly to their wool. The shepherd closes the gate carefully. He checks the fence once more. A loose piece of wood catches his attention. Tomorrow. He will repair it tomorrow. For tonight, the work can wait. His body feels heavy now. Legs sore. Back aching quietly from long hours walking uneven ground. The evening feels earned. He pauses for a moment, watching smoke rise from the homes ahead. Firelight glows softly through open doorways. Home waits. Warmth waits. Nearby, a child runs carefully toward one of the round houses carrying a small bundle of sticks gathered before sunset. The task feels small, but important. Every piece of wood matters. Fires need feeding. Cold nights arrive quickly. Inside the home, someone smiles softly before adding the wood to a growing stack near the fire. Preparation never truly ends. Even moments of comfort are built through earlier effort. Inside the round houses, dinner quietly takes shape. Clay pots rest above glowing flames. Steam rises into smoky air. Simple ingredients warm together slowly. Root vegetables. Grain. Perhaps fish. Perhaps a little milk or cheese if animals have provided enough. Nothing extravagant waits on these evenings. Yet there is satisfaction in warm food. Especially after a long day outdoors. A woman stirs a pot slowly. The firelight flickers across tired hands. Nearby, children sit close to warmth, their energy fading. One child leans sleepily against a parent. Another watches the fire in quiet fascination, eyes following the slow movement of glowing embers. The fire seems almost alive during evening hours. Always moving. Always shifting. Its warmth spreads gently through tired rooms. The sound of crackling wood fills silences comfortably. No one feels pressure to speak constantly here. After hard work, quiet feels welcome. Outside, darkness gathers more confidently now. The paths between homes grow dim. Fences become shapes instead of details. The hills beyond the settlement slowly disappear into shadow. Only familiar outlines remain. Yet no one feels afraid of this darkness. It belongs here. Night arrives every evening. Predictable. Expected. Part of life. People simply move closer to warmth when it comes. Near one doorway, two older villagers speak softly while sharing the final moments of fading light. Their conversation moves gently between familiar concerns. The weather has stayed kind recently. Someone's roof still needs repair before heavier rain returns. A family nearby may need help gathering extra wood before colder weeks arrive. These small conversations hold the village together. People notice one another. Remember needs. Offer quiet help. No grand promises are made. Only simple acts repeated over time. Inside another roundhouse, a family gathers around the evening meal. Bowls pass carefully between tired hands. Steam rises warmly into the room. The smell feels grounding. Comforting. No one eats quickly. The day has already been long. There is time now. Time to rest. Time to sit. Time to simply be together before sleep arrives. A man rubs tired shoulders after eating. The warmth of food settles gently inside him. Nearby, someone stretches aching hands near the fire. Labor leaves its marks. Small pains become familiar companions. Sore feet. Stiff backs. Hands roughened by seasons of work. Yet people rarely complain much. Hardship feels ordinary. Expected. Not welcome perhaps. But understood. Outside, stars begin appearing overhead. First one. Then another. Soon the sky fills quietly with distant points of light. Without lanterns brightening the night, the heavens feel enormous here. Children sometimes stare upward in wonder. Older villagers know familiar patterns. Travelers rely on them. Farmers notice changing seasons through quiet shifts overhead. The sky feels ancient. Steady. Present above every generation. A woman steps outside briefly after dinner. The cool air touches her face. The settlement feels peaceful now. Soft voices drip faintly through nearby doorways. Smoke moves lazily upward. Somewhere nearby, water continues moving through darkness. The river never stops. Its quiet sound carries softly through the night air. She listens for a moment. Breathes deeply. Then returns inside where warmth waits. Inside one roundhouse, someone begins telling a familiar story. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Only softly enough for tired listeners gathered near the fire. Stories feel different at night. The darkness outside makes voices warmer somehow. Closer. Children listen quietly. Even if they know parts already. Stories bring comfort through repetition. The familiar words feel safe. Predictable. like knowing morning will eventually return. One child yawns. Then another. Heavy eyelids begin winning small battles. Blankets appear. Warm places near the fire become sleeping places. Adults continue speaking softly. Quieter now. Their own tiredness growing heavier. Outside, the settlement settles further into silence. Animals rest. The wind softens. Mist begins gathering once more near the fields. The hills disappear almost completely into darkness. Only firelight remains. Small glowing signs of life resting quietly beneath the endless sky. The fire burns lower. Voices grow softer. One by one, homes surrender gently to sleep. And above the ancient settlement, stars continue their quiet watch while another peaceful night stretches slowly across the hills. The night grows deeper. Inside the round houses, fires burn low now, glowing softly beneath blankets of ash. The bright warmth of evening has quieted into something gentler. Orange light flickers faintly against curved walls before slowly fading into darkness. Most of the settlement sleeps. Blankets rise and fall with slow breathing. Children rest close beside parents. Dogs curl near doorways, only half awake, listening now and then to distant sounds carried gently by the wind. Outside, cool air settles over the hills. Mist stretches across the fields once again, moving quietly through tall grass. Fences stand still beneath the night sky, their familiar shapes softened by darkness. Nothing asks for movement now. The work has finally paused. For a few quiet hours, tired hands rest. The fields wait patiently. The tools wait. Tomorrow waits. But not yet. Tonight belongs to stillness. Far from the homes, the stream continues moving through darkness. Its sound feels softer at night somehow. More distant. More peaceful. Water slips over smooth stones exactly as it did yesterday, and the day before that, and many days before anyone living here first arrived. The land remembers long things. Long winters. Heavy rain. Many footsteps. Seasons repeating quietly across generations. A breeze passes gently through the settlement. The thatched roofs shift softly. Somewhere nearby, an animal stirs in sleep. Then quiet returns again. Deep and slow. Inside one home, an older villager wakes briefly. Age often changes sleep. Rest becomes lighter. More easily interrupted. The fire has almost gone dark now. Only small red glows remain beneath gray ash. The room feels cooler than before. The older villager pulls wool closer around tired shoulders and listens quietly for a moment. Soft breathing nearby. The faint crackle of dying embers. Wind brushing gently outside. Nothing unusual. Nothing troubling. Only night moving through familiar rhythms. After a moment, eyes grow heavy again. Sleep returns softly. Morning still rests far away. Above the settlement, clouds drift slowly between stars. Sometimes the sky opens fully, revealing endless points of light stretching farther than anyone could imagine. Other times, darkness feels softer beneath passing clouds. People living here know these skies well. The changing moon. The familiar stars. The feeling of weather shifting overhead. Long before rain arrives, sometimes the air itself seems to whisper about it. Older villagers notice such things. A smell in the wind. A heaviness in the sky. A quiet feeling learned through years of paying attention. Life close to nature teaches careful observation. Nothing feels far away. The land speaks constantly. Through cold mornings. Through restless animals. Through changing clouds. People simply learn how to listen. Eventually, the night begins changing. Very slowly. So slowly it almost feels impossible to notice. Darkness softens at its edges. The stars lose a little brightness. Mist thickens briefly over the fields. Morning approaches quietly once again. Inside the homes, warmth sleeps beneath yesterday's ashes. Waiting. Always waiting. A woman wakes before sunrise, just as she has many mornings before. Her body knows the rhythm better than thought. The village still rests. Children sleep heavily nearby. The dog near the doorway barely lifts its head. The room feels cool. Still. Silent. She moves carefully so no one wakes too early. The fire waits in the center of the round house. Nearly gone. But not fully. Never fully. Careful fingers push gently through soft ash. Searching. There. A hidden glow. Small. Fragile. Enough. Dry grass is placed carefully nearby. Small pieces of wood follow. Then patience. A quiet breath. A pause. A flicker appears. Then another. Slowly, warmth returns. The fire wakes. Orange light spreads gently across familiar walls. Smoke rises softly overhead. Morning begins once again. Outside, dawn slowly touches the hills. The world feels pale and quiet. Mist hangs low across grass still wet from night air. The settlement looks sleepy beneath soft gray skies. Smoke begins rising from one roof. Then another. Then another. Morning spreads quietly between homes. A young boy steps outside carrying an empty water container. The air feels cold against sleepy skin. He pauses briefly, rubbing tired eyes. The path toward the stream waits. Familiar. Worn smooth by many mornings exactly like this one. The village feels peaceful before full daylight. Smaller somehow. Wrapped in quiet. The stream nearby reflects pale morning light. Water moves gently. Mist hovers low above the surface. Birdsong begins slowly in the distance. The boy kneels carefully. Fills the container. Watches the water for a moment. There is something calming about this early hour. The world feels softer before work fully begins. Back inside the homes, breakfast slowly returns to life. Grinding stones begin their familiar rhythm. Stone against grain. Again. And again. And again. The sound belongs to morning now. Almost as familiar as birdsong. Simple meals take shape. Warm grain. Fresh water. Perhaps leftover bread from yesterday. Nothing large. Just enough to begin another day. Children slowly wake. Blankets shift. Small voices return. The settlement stretches itself awake. Outside, the shepherd steps toward the animal enclosure once more. Another ordinary morning. Another familiar path. The gate opens. The sheep stir softly. Mist drifts around tired legs. The hills wait patiently in the distance. And quietly, gently, another slow Celtic day begins again beneath the soft light of dawn. Morning settles fully across the settlement. The pale softness of dawn slowly gives way to gentle daylight. Mist begins lifting from the fields in quiet ribbons, disappearing little by little beneath the warmth of the rising sun. The hills wake slowly too. Their slopes brighten with soft color while shadows retreat into hidden places between trees and stone. The village moves carefully into another day. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing ever truly rushes here. The rhythm of life is patient, shaped by weather, habit, and the quiet understanding that every task takes the time it takes. Smoke rises steadily from the rooftops. The smell of warm grain and wood fire lingers gently between homes. Doors open. Footsteps begin. Voices drift softly through cool air. Morning has arrived. Near one round house, a woman shakes out heavy wool blankets beneath growing sunlight. The fabric smells faintly of smoke from many nights spent close to the fire. She folds them carefully afterward, placing them where they will wait for evening once more. Everything here has its rhythm. Morning asks for waking. Afternoon asks for labor. Evening asks for rest. And night asks only for sleep. Children move sleepily through familiar routines. One washes tired hands in cool water. Another gathers kindling left neatly beside a wall. Even small hands know work here. Not hard work always, but useful work. The kind that quietly teaches responsibility. A child learns that fires need feeding. Water must be carried. Animals must be watched. Nothing happens on its own. Everything requires care. Near the stream, the familiar path grows busy with morning movement. Clay containers are carried carefully toward the water. Villagers greet one another quietly along the way. No long conversations. Just familiar nods. A few soft words. The comfort of seeing familiar faces beginning another ordinary day. The stream feels lively this morning. Sunlight dances gently across moving water. Tiny insects hover near the surface. Birds rest briefly on nearby branches before disappearing into open sky. One woman kneels beside the water. She pauses after filling her container. For a moment, she simply listens. Water moving over stone. Wind through distant grass. The faint sound of sheep somewhere beyond the hills. The world feels peaceful in these small pauses. Even during busy days. Back in the settlement, the shepherd has already begun guiding animals toward open fields. The sheep move slowly through morning grass still touched by dampness. The shepherd walks behind them at an easy pace. The work asks for patience more than speed. Watching. Guiding. Waiting. Hours pass this way. Quietly. The hills seem endless during these long walks. Soft green slopes. Scattered stones. Clouds drifting slowly overhead. Sometimes nothing changes for long stretches of time. Only grass moving beneath the wind. Only distant birds. Only silence. Yet silence rarely feels empty here. There is comfort in familiar quiet. Back near the center of the settlement, an older man repairs a wooden cartwheel. He works carefully beneath sunlight warming the ground around him. The wheel cracked during heavy use. Such things happen. Wood weakens. Rain softens it. Weight wears it down. Nothing lasts forever without attention. He pauses now and then, stretching stiff fingers. Age moves slowly through the body. Joints complain more often. Cold mornings settle deeper into bones. Still, work continues. Slower perhaps, but no less important. Nearby, someone prepares strips of wool for spinning. The work feels repetitive. Steady. Hands twist fibers carefully while thoughts drift quietly elsewhere. Clothing asks for patience. Warm blankets do too. Long winters remind people why such work matters. Preparation always lives quietly beneath daily life. Even during warm weather. People think ahead. Wood stacked carefully. Food stored safely. Clothing repaired before cold winds return. No season stays forever. Everyone knows this. Morning grows warmer now. Sunlight settles fully over rooftops. The cool edge of dawn disappears. The settlement becomes quietly busy. A farmer kneels near growing crops, checking leaves carefully. Some plants look healthy. Others less certain. A few show signs of insects. The work of growing food feels uncertain sometimes. Effort matters greatly. But luck matters too. Rain may come kindly. Or not. Frost may arrive too early. Animals may wander too close. Still, planting continues. Care continues. Hope continues. One careful task at a time. Nearby, a child carries lunch towards someone working in the fields. The walk feels important. The basket warm in small hands. Food matters during long work days. Especially simple food eaten beneath open sky. A short rest can make heavy labor feel easier for a while. Near one doorway, two women sit together repairing worn clothing. Their hands move steadily through familiar motions. Needle. Thread. Worn fabric strengthened again. Conversation moves slowly between them. Someone's roof needs patching soon. Rain may come next week. A neighbor's child has grown quickly lately. Ordinary things. Yet somehow meaningful. Communities are built this way. Not through grand events, but through repeated moments of shared life. The morning continues unfolding. Clouds drift overhead. Wind moves gently across open land. The sounds of quiet work settle comfortably into the air. Wood shaping. Animals moving. Footsteps crossing familiar ground. The settlement feels alive. Not loud. Only steady. Everything moving together through another ordinary day. Near the hills, the shepherd pauses for a moment. The sheep graze peacefully. The sky stretches endlessly above. He sits on a smooth stone for a short rest. Nothing urgent presses forward. Only time moving slowly. Only sunlight warming tired shoulders. Only another calm morning quietly becoming afternoon. And somewhere, just beyond the slow turning of the day, the gentle heaviness of later hours already waits. The morning slowly leans toward midday. The sun climbs higher above the hills now, warming the earth little by little. Dew has disappeared from the grass. The cool breath of early morning has softened into something gentler, touched by warmth and quiet movement. The settlement settles into its daily rhythm more deeply. By this hour, everyone has found their work. The same familiar tasks. The same familiar paths. The same steady routines shaped by many seasons. Nothing feels surprising. And perhaps there is comfort in that. Near the fields, farmers continue bending close to growing crops. Hands move through soil darkened by old rain. Small weeds are pulled carefully. Broken stems are examined with patient concern. Food grows slowly. Too slowly sometimes. People here understand patience because the land asks for it. No seed becomes food overnight. No field rewards hurry. Everything asks for waiting while still working. One farmer straightens slowly, pressing tired hands against aching knees. The body speaks quietly after long labor. A sore back. Heavy shoulders. Hands roughened by weather and work. Still, rest comes only briefly. There is too much left to do. Nearby, another worker carries water toward younger plants that need extra care during warmer days. Clay containers feel heavy. Water always feels heavier after many trips. Yet no one complains much. Hard work simply belongs to life. Like changing weather. Like sunrise. Like winter waiting somewhere ahead. Back near the settlement, the sound of quiet labor continues. Someone splits wood near a fence, each careful movement steady and measured. Another person sits repairing fishing nets worn thin by river currents. The work requires patience. Tiny knots. Careful fingers. Slow progress. But good nets matter. A tear left unfixed means lost food later. Everything useful deserves attention. Everything useful earns care. Near one round house, warm sunlight rests softly across the doorway. Inside, the room feels peaceful. Smoke from the morning fire lingers faintly near the roof. Bundles of herbs hang quietly overhead. An older woman kneels near baskets filled with grain. She sorts carefully, checking for signs of dampness, removing anything spoiled. Stored food matters deeply, especially when cold months return. Winter always feels distant during warm days, yet never forgotten. People remember difficult seasons, thin meals, long nights, cold winds slipping beneath doors. Preparation becomes a kind of quiet protection. Nearby, a younger child watches closely. Small hands reach carefully toward the grain. Questions come softly. The older woman answers patiently. Learning moves gently here. No rush. No pressure. Just repetition. Observation. Practice. The child learns because life slowly asks for knowing. Outside, children carry smaller responsibilities of their own. One gathers fallen branches near the edge of the woods. Another watches younger siblings while adults work nearby. Even play often lives close beside labor here. A stick becomes a toy for a while. A patch of grass becomes a small adventure. Then someone remembers another task waiting. Life folds work naturally into growing up. Near the stream, sunlight glimmers across moving water. The riverbank feels warmer now. A fisherman kneels beside repaired nets, checking carefully for missed tears before returning to the water later. Patience lives inside fishing too. The river gives differently each day. Some mornings offer little. Other days enough. Luck moves quietly through ordinary life. No one expects certainty. Only effort. Only hope shaped by repetition. The fisherman pauses for a moment. The sound of water feels calming. Always moving. Always steady. Clouds drift slowly overhead, their reflections shifting gently across the current. Birds call softly nearby. The world feels slow here. Not empty. Only unhurried. Back in the grazing fields, the shepherd watches over resting animals. The sheep move lazily through grass warmed by sunlight. Some settle beneath shade. The shepherd sits quietly on a hillside. There are long moments in this work where nothing happens. Only waiting. Watching. Listening. The wind brushes softly through tall grass. Cloud shadows move across distant hills. Silence stretches comfortably. It is easy to imagine thoughts growing slower out here, matching the pace of the land itself. Back in the settlement, midday preparations quietly begin. Not full meals. Only simple food to carry workers through long hours. Bread wrapped carefully. Water gathered again. Perhaps cheese if enough remains. Nothing heavy. Just enough. Enough to continue. A woman wipes sweat from her forehead after carrying wood across the settlement. The sun feels warmer now. Arms ache. Feet grow tired. The body remembers every task. Still, there is satisfaction in movement. In knowing the work matters. The fire will burn tonight because wood was carried now. Dinner will happen because water was gathered earlier. Comfort later depends on labor now. This understanding rests quietly beneath daily life. No one speaks of it often. Everyone simply knows. Near one doorway, two older villagers pause together briefly. One shares news of damaged fencing near the fields. The other offers help tomorrow. No formal promise. Just quiet understanding. Help moves naturally through small communities. People remember kindness. And repay it later when needed. The settlement itself feels warm and lived in during these hours. Smoke curls lazily from rooftops. Dogs sleep in patches of sunlight. Chickens wander between homes without urgency. Tools rest briefly beside doorways before being picked up again. Nothing feels dramatic. Nothing feels rushed. Only ordinary life unfolding slowly. The sun rises higher still. Shadows shorten beneath tired feet. Midday slowly approaches. And with it comes the heavy warmth that gently slows even the busiest hands. Midday arrives quietly over the settlement. The sun now rests high above the hills, warming the earth in a steady and gentle way. The coolness of morning feels far behind. Even the wind has softened, moving lazily through tall grass as though the day itself has grown sleepy. The settlement slows a little during these hours. Not because work ends. The work rarely ends. But bodies grow tired. Movements become heavier. More careful. People save their strength for the hours still waiting ahead. Near the fields, Workers pause briefly beneath scattered shade. Bread is shared quietly. Water passed from hand to hand. No long meals stretch through the afternoon. Only small moments of rest. Enough to ease tired muscles. Enough to continue. One farmer sits beside a patch of growing grain. The soil smells warm beneath sunlight. Hands rest quietly on tired knees. Nearby, another worker removes dirt from worn sandals before standing once more. Rest here comes in short pieces. Small pauses folded gently into long days. Then work begins again. The fields still need care. Always. One row at a time. One careful step after another. The heat of midday settles across open land. Not harsh. Only heavy in its own quiet way. The kind of warmth that slows movement and softens voices. Insects hum lazily near tall plants. Birdsong becomes quieter. Even animals rest more often. Farther up the hillside, sheep gather in shaded places. The shepherd watches them calmly. This hour asks for patience more than effort. The animals graze slowly now. Sometimes they simply rest. The shepherd sits nearby on familiar ground. A smooth stone warmed by sunlight. The hills stretch endlessly around him. Clouds move lazily overhead. Time feels slower here. Measured not by clocks but by light. By hunger. By tiredness. By the quiet movement of shadows. There are moments when nothing changes for long stretches. Only wind through grass. Only distant sounds drifting softly across the hills. Silence feels natural here. Not empty. Only peaceful. Back inside the settlement, round houses feel cooler than the open fields. Their thick walls offer shelter from the warmest part of the day. Inside one home, an older woman sits near baskets of wool waiting to be spun. Her hands move steadily. Twisting fibers. Pulling gently. Repeating familiar motions learned long ago. Nearby, a younger family member watches. Sometimes helping. Sometimes simply sitting nearby in quiet company. Not every moment requires speaking. People here understand silence. Shared quiet feels comfortable. Outside, someone repairs a cracked clay pot. Water must be carried somehow. Food must be stored. A broken object creates problems quickly. Hands move carefully across the damaged surface. Perhaps the repair will hold. Perhaps not. Still, trying matters. Nothing useful is discarded easily. Too much labor lives inside ordinary things. The village carries the marks of careful living. Roofs patched again and again. Wood smoothed by many hands. Tools repaired until little of the original remains. Nothing shines. Nothing feels new for long. But things endure. Because people help them endure. Near the stream, cool water offers brief relief from warmth. A young boy kneels beside the edge after carrying another container. He splashes water onto tired hands. Coldness feels welcome. The river moves quietly as always. Steady. Patient. Nearby plants bend gently beneath soft wind. Dragonflies drift near the surface. Everything feels calm. The stream never seems hurried. Perhaps people living nearby slowly learn this same rhythm. Back in the village center, quiet conversations drift between neighbors. Someone asks about a family member feeling unwell. Another speaks of weather changing soon. Clouds may bring rain within a few days. Everyone notices such things. Rain changes plans. Changes work. Changes worries. The sky quietly shapes life. A woman sits outside her home repairing worn clothing while sunlight rests softly nearby. Needle. Thread. Careful hands. The fabric has already been repaired many times. Still, it remains useful. That matters. Clothing takes effort. Warm wool matters deeply once colder winds return. Preparation hides quietly beneath almost every task. People think ahead even during calm days. Enough food. Enough wood. Enough warmth. Enough strength to reach another season. Children move more slowly now too. The warmth of midday makes even small tasks feel tiring. One sits beneath shade beside a dog sleeping lazily nearby. Another watches adults work while quietly twisting grass between small fingers. Soon enough, responsibilities will grow. But for now, there is still room for slow afternoons and simple curiosity. The smell of warm earth drifts gently through the air. Smoke rises faintly from one roundhouse where someone has begun preparing food for later. Not dinner yet. Only preparation. Everything begins early here. Too much waits to be done. Farther away, the fisherman walks quietly along the riverbank once more. Nets repaired. Hope steady. The water shines beneath sunlight. Perhaps today brings enough. Perhaps not. Either way, the river continues. Always moving. Always waiting. The afternoon slowly waits beyond midday now. Still distant. Yet quietly approaching. The sun will soften eventually. The air will cool. People will gather close to fires once more. But not yet. For now, the village rests inside the slow heaviness of midday, where even the wind seems content to move gently and without hurry. The day stretches gently beyond midday. The sun remains high, though its warmth feels softer now, less sharp than before. Shadows slowly begin returning to the land, small at first, resting beneath fences and doorways before quietly growing longer. The settlement continues its patient rhythm. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing suddenly changes. Life here moves the same way rivers move. Slowly. Steadily. Without needing attention drawn toward it. Near the fields, workers continue their quiet labor. Hands move through rows of growing plants with familiar care. Soil shifts beneath tired fingers. Small stones are pushed aside. Damaged leaves are examined with patient concern. Growing food asks for trust. Trust in rain. Trust in changing seasons. Trust that today's effort may become tomorrow's meal. One farmer kneels low beside a patch of grain, gently brushing dirt from tired hands. The body grows heavy during long afternoons. Shoulders ache. Feet feel worn from uneven ground. Still, there is comfort in routine. The work feels familiar enough to almost become calming. Each movement already known. Each task remembered by the body. Nearby, another villager lifts a woven basket filled with gathered roots. The basket feels heavy now. Heavier than it seemed earlier in the day. Fatigue settles slowly. Quietly. Like evening approaching from far away. Back in the settlement, afternoon drifts softly between the round houses. Warm light rests against curved walls made from wood and earth. Smoke rises gently through open roofs where fires burn low for now. Inside one home, a woman kneels near stored grain. She works carefully, preparing enough for the evening meal without using too much. Every choice asks for thought. Food must last. Seasons change unexpectedly. Storms arrive. Harvests fail. Winter stretches longer than expected. People remember difficult years. And memory shapes careful habits. Nearby, an older family member slowly repairs a wooden spoon worn smooth through many seasons of use. The wood feels soft from countless hands. Tiny cracks run through it. Still useful. Still worth mending. Nothing here disappears quickly. Things remain as long as effort can keep them useful. Outside, dogs sleep lazily in warm patches of sunlight. Their ears twitch now and then at distant sounds before resting again. Even the animals understand the slower pace of afternoon. Chickens wander without urgency near the edges of homes. Sheep graze quietly in the distance. The world feels calm. Almost sleepy. Near the stream, Water glimmers beneath shifting sunlight. Its quiet movement never changes. A young girl kneels beside the edge filling containers once again. Water has already been gathered many times today. Still, more is needed. There is always more needed. Cooking. Washing. Animals. Morning preparation. The container feels heavy when lifted. Her arms grow tired. Yet the path home feels familiar enough that she barely thinks about it. Her feet already know the way. The stream remains behind her. Steady. Patient. A sound she has heard her whole life. Nearby, dragonflies drift above the water. The wind brushes softly through reeds. Nothing rushes here. The river teaches patience simply by continuing. Farther beyond the hills, the shepherd watches clouds drift overhead. The sheep move lazily through tall grass. Sometimes one wanders too far and must be guided back gently. Most of the time, there is only watching. Only waiting. The shepherd sits quietly for a while. Hands resting. Back leaning against a stone warmed by sunlight. The silence feels comforting. There are many quiet moments in this work. Enough time for thoughts to slow. Enough time simply to notice the sky. The shape of clouds. The changing wind. Birds circling high overhead. Nearby, insects hum softly through warm air. The hills stretch wide and quiet around him. Back inside the settlement, children move carefully through small responsibilities. One gathers dry sticks near the edge of a fence. Another helps repair loose bundles of straw stored for later use. Their work remains small for now, but important. Everything contributes. Everything matters in small ways. One child pauses near a doorway, watching smoke curl gently upward into the afternoon sky. The smell of cooking herbs drifts softly nearby. Evening still feels far away. Yet hints of it have quietly begun. A woman stacks gathered wood beside her home. Enough for tonight perhaps. Maybe enough for tomorrow too. Preparation always continues. Especially in places where comfort depends on effort. Warm fires do not happen without wood. Meals do not happen without planning. Rest itself feels earned. Near the center of the settlement, two neighbors stop briefly to speak. One mentions strange clouds appearing recently near distant hills. The other nods thoughtfully. Perhaps rain. Perhaps only passing weather. The sky remains difficult to predict completely. Still, people watch closely. The weather shapes nearly everything. How long crops grow. How difficult travel becomes. Whether nights feel cold or mild. Life rests close to nature here. There is little distance between people and the world around them. Wind is felt directly. Rain changes the day immediately. Cold enters homes unless fires stay strong. Perhaps this closeness teaches patience too. Teaches acceptance. The afternoon stretches onward. Sunlight softens little by little. Shadows grow slightly longer. The warmth of the day slowly begins releasing its hold. No one announces the change. People simply feel it. The body notices. The air notices. The settlement moves gently toward evening without hurry. And somewhere beyond the hills, the promise of another quiet night already waits patiently beside smoke, firelight, and tired hands ready for rest. We travel back into one of the afternoon softens further as the sun slowly begins its quiet journey downward. Its light changes almost without notice. What was once bright now feels warmer, gentler, resting across the hills like something growing tired. Golden light touches the edges of rooftops and wooden fences. The settlement glows softly beneath the slow passing of time. People feel the shift before speaking of it. Bodies understand the hour. Muscles grow heavier. Movements become slower. The day has been long already. Still, work continues. There is always one more task waiting. Near the fields, A farmer wipes tired hands against worn fabric and pauses for a moment beside growing crops. The soil feels warm beneath tired knees. Nearby plants move gently beneath a quiet breeze. The work has gone well enough today. Not perfect. No day ever feels perfect. But enough has been done. Enough for now. The farmer stands slowly. Back stiff. Shoulders sore. Eyes drift briefly toward the settlement in the distance. Smoke has already begun rising from some rooftops. Evening quietly approaches. Back near the village, small preparations begin almost without anyone noticing. A woman gathers herbs to flavor tonight's meal. Someone else checks stored grain carefully. A child carries another bundle of wood toward the doorway of a round house. No one speaks much about these routines. They simply happen. Repeated so many times they feel almost natural as breathing. Inside one home, warm sunlight stretches gently across packed earth floors. The room feels peaceful. Quiet. An older villager sits near the doorway repairing a small basket weakened through long use. Hands move carefully. Patiently. The work takes time. Everything useful deserves time. Nothing here arrives easily enough to waste. Nearby, a younger child watches quietly. Sometimes helping. Sometimes only observing. Learning continues this way. Not through instruction alone, but through closeness. Through seeing hands repeat small tasks again and again. Outside, chickens wander slowly through dust warmed by sunlight. Dogs stretch lazily beside familiar doorways. The settlement itself seems quieter than before. Not sleeping. Only growing calm. The warmth of afternoon settles deeply across everything. Near the stream, villagers gather water for what may be the final time before evening. The path feels deeply familiar beneath tired feet. Worn smooth through years of repetition. Clay containers knock softly against one another as people walk. The stream waits quietly. Its steady movement unchanged. Sunlight flickers across moving water. The sound feels soothing after long work. A woman kneels beside the edge. Fills her container. Then pauses for a moment. Listening. Water slipping over stone. Birds hidden somewhere among distant trees. The soft movement of wind through grass. Moments like this arrive quietly during ordinary days. Small pauses where nothing asks to be done immediately. Small pauses where tiredness feels softer somehow. Far beyond the village, the shepherd gathers the sheep more closely now. The long afternoon stretches toward evening. The animals seem slower. Calmer. Some pause often to graze before moving again. The shepherd walks patiently behind them. There is no hurry. The village waits. The fire will wait too. The hills around him glow gently beneath changing sunlight. Cloud shadows drift slowly over distant grass. The wind cools little by little. Back in the settlement, smoke rises more steadily. Dinner preparations quietly continue. Clay pots are brought closer to warmth. Ingredients are sorted carefully. Simple meals begin taking shape. Perhaps warm grain tonight. Roots gathered earlier. Maybe fish if luck favored the river. No feast waits. Only familiar food shaped through effort and patience. Still, simple meals feel comforting after long work. The smell of herbs drifts gently into open air. Children begin slowing too. The long day settles inside small bodies. Energy fades. Voices grow softer. One child sits beside a doorway watching sunlight slowly change color across the grass. Another rests quietly near a sleeping dog. The world feels sleepy now. As though the village itself is preparing to exhale. Near the center of the settlement, neighbors speak briefly while passing one another. Someone offers help repairing a damaged fence tomorrow. Another mentions clouds gathering farther west. Perhaps rain soon. Perhaps not. Weather remains uncertain. Yet everyone watches. Always watches. The sky quietly shapes tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Inside one round house, a woman kneels near the fire. The flames remain small for now, saving wood until evening deepens. She stirs something slowly in a clay pot. Steam rises gently into smoky air. The smell feels warm, familiar, comforting. Nearby, someone folds blankets neatly for later. Night comes cooler than daytime, especially when winds change. Preparation happens naturally, without much thought. Years of habit guide tired hands. Outside, sunlight lowers further still. Long shadows stretch across paths between homes. The hills begin changing color. Soft gold turning slowly toward amber. Birdsong quiets little by little. Animals drift closer to familiar places. The settlement gently gathers itself inward. Toward warmth. Toward food. Toward rest. The day has not yet ended. But evening stands nearby now, patient and quiet, waiting to wrap tired shoulders in firelight and slow silence once more. Evening draws closer with quiet patience. The sunlight grows softer now, spreading across the hills in long golden shapes. Shadows stretch farther across worn paths and resting fields. The warmth of the afternoon begins slipping gently away, leaving behind cooler air that feels welcome after many hours of work. The settlement notices the change. People always notice. Not because anyone speaks of it, but because bodies understand the rhythm of the day. Hands grow slower. Shoulders lower. Tiredness settles softly into muscles worked since morning. Near the grazing hills, the shepherd begins guiding the sheep home. The animals move quietly through familiar paths worn gently into the earth over many seasons. Dust rises softly beneath tired feet. The shepherd walks behind them. Patient as always. There is no need for hurry. Evening waits. The village waits. Smoke already rises in the distance. Thin gray lines drifting upward through cooling air. Home feels close now. The sheep know it too. Their movements grow steadier as familiar fences come nearer. Back near the settlement, small preparations continue almost without thought. A woman carries another armful of gathered wood toward her home. The pile beside the doorway grows taller. Enough for warmth tonight. Perhaps enough for tomorrow morning too. Fire asks for planning. Always. The cold arrives quickly once darkness settles fully. Inside one round house, the room glows softly with early firelight. Not bright. Only warm. A clay pot rests above small flames beginning to strengthen. Steam rises slowly. The smell of herbs and grain drifts quietly through smoky air. Dinner begins patiently. No one rushes meals here. Everything takes time. A younger child sits nearby watching carefully. The movements feel familiar. Hands stirring. Wood adjusted. Warmth slowly growing stronger. One day these tasks will belong to smaller hands grown older. For now, there is watching. Learning quietly. Outside, the settlement grows calmer. The busiest hours of labor have passed. Tools begin returning to familiar places beside doorways. A farmer pauses near a fence, checking tomorrow's work with tired eyes. A loose board needs repair. Another task waits. There is always another task. Yet tonight feels softer somehow. The air cooler. The light gentler. Even unfinished work feels easier to carry when evening comes. Near the stream, the final water of the day is gathered. A young woman kneels carefully beside moving water. The surface reflects fading sunlight like soft pieces of gold drifting downstream. The stream sounds peaceful during this hour. Steady. Unchanging. Almost sleepy. She lifts the container slowly. Heavy now. Arms tired from many hours already spent working. Still, this final trip feels important. Morning will come again. And morning always asks for water. The path home feels quiet beneath tired feet. Nearby grasses move gently in cool wind. Birds begin disappearing into hidden places among trees. The land itself feels ready for rest. Back in the hills, the shepherd reaches the settlement. The sheep enter familiar shelter slowly. Soft sounds rise as they settle for the night. The shepherd closes the gate carefully. Checks it once. Then again. Habit matters. Care matters. A forgotten task becomes tomorrow's trouble. Satisfied, he steps back. The evening belongs to him now too. Tiredness rests deeply inside his legs. His back aches softly. Still, there is comfort in finishing the day. The work is done. For now. Inside homes, dinner continues taking shape. The smell of cooking drifts through open doorways. Simple meals again. Warm grain. Bread. Roots softened through slow cooking. Perhaps fish if luck favored the river earlier. Perhaps only herbs and broth. Even simple meals feel deeply welcome after hard labor. Warm food tastes different when earned. Families slowly gather closer to the fire. Children sit near warmth. Some still speaking softly. Others already growing sleepy. One child leans against a parent while staring quietly into glowing flames. Firelight has a way of slowing people. The movement of embers. The crackling sound. The warmth spreading through cold hands. Everything feels gentler nearby. Outside, dusk begins arriving fully. The hills darken. The sky shifts into softer shades. Blue deepens overhead while the last pieces of sunlight slowly disappear. Smoke continues drifting upward. The village looks smaller beneath evening skies. Safer somehow. Hidden gently among the hills. Neighbors speak quietly while passing between homes. Someone asks if help is still needed fixing fencing tomorrow. Another mentions colder winds arriving lately. Simple conversations. Small concerns. Yet important. Life here depends on shared effort. No family stands completely alone. Help moves quietly between homes. An extra hand repairing something. A shared meal during harder weeks. Kindness repeated so often it becomes ordinary. Inside one roundhouse, dinner finally begins. Bowls pass carefully between tired hands. The room feels warm now. Smoke curls gently overhead. Voices stay soft. No one speaks loudly after long days. Energy fades naturally. The body asks for rest. Nearby, blankets wait folded for later. The fire burns steadily. Outside, stars begin appearing one by one. The night slowly unfolds above the ancient hills. And quietly, without hurry, the settlement gathers itself closer to warmth, food, and the comforting promise of sleep waiting patiently ahead. Night settles gently over the settlement once more. The last traces of evening fade slowly from the sky. Deep blue turns darker still, and the hills soften into shadow until only their shapes remain beneath the quiet spread of stars. The village grows smaller at night. Closer somehow. The world beyond feels distant now. Hidden behind darkness. Only the settlement remains warm and familiar, gathered beneath soft smoke and the gentle glow of firelight. Inside the round houses, dinner continues quietly. Bowls pass from hand to hand. Warm steam rises through smoky air. People eat slowly. No one rushes. The day has already been long. There is time now to sit. To rest. To let tired muscles soften beside the fire. The food is simple. Always simple. But warmth matters more than variety. Warm grain fills empty stomachs. Bread feels comforting after hours outdoors. A few herbs add quiet flavor. Perhaps fish rests in someone's bowl tonight. Perhaps only vegetables soften through patient cooking. Enough matters. Enough is welcome. A shepherd sits near the fire after returning from the hills. His legs still feel heavy from walking. Hands rough from long work rest quietly beside warmth. The room smells of smoke and food. Children nearby speak softly while fighting sleep. The sounds feel comforting somehow. Familiar. A sign that the day has reached its softer hours. Near another fire, an older villager repairs something small while dinner finishes. A cracked wooden handle. A loose piece of fabric. Even evenings sometimes hold quiet work. Nothing dramatic. Only useful things asking for care. Hands move slowly now. Tiredness softens every motion. No one works too quickly at this hour. Outside, cool air settles over the settlement. Mist begins gathering low across the fields again. Grass bends beneath evening moisture. Fences disappear gradually into shadow. The paths between homes grow darker. Still, movement continues quietly for a while. Someone carries one final bucket of water indoors. Another gathers forgotten tools before night deepens completely. Preparation matters. Morning arrives quickly. And morning always asks for readiness. Near the edge of the village, dogs settle close to familiar homes. Animals understand evening too. The sheep rest quietly behind secure fences. Chickens have already disappeared into safe corners. Even the wind feels calmer now. Slower. Cooler. The world seems to exhale. Inside the homes, stories begin softly. No loud voices. No grand performances. Only familiar words spoken gently beside warm fires. An older man begins telling a story heard many times before. Children still listen. Even when they know what comes next. Some stories explain old traditions. Others speak quietly of seasons long past. Hard winters remembered. Unexpected storms survived. A lesson hidden gently inside memory. The firelight moves across faces as people listen. Shadows flicker softly against curved walls. Smoke rises overhead. Outside darkness deepens. Inside warmth grows stronger. The contrast feels comforting. A small safe place held against the wide night. One child begins drifting toward sleep before the story even ends. Heavy eyelids slowly close. Another leans against a parent, barely awake now. Adults smile softly. Long days always end this way. Labor asks much from the body. Sleep arrives naturally afterward. Near one doorway, a woman steps briefly outside. The night air touches tired skin. Cool. Fresh. Quiet. Above her, stars stretch endlessly across the sky. Without bright firelight nearby, the heavens feel enormous. Familiar constellations rest overhead. The same sky seen by parents. Grandparents. Many generations before. Somewhere nearby, the stream continues its quiet movement through darkness. Its steady sound reaches the village softly. Always present. Always patient. The woman stands quietly for a moment. Listening. Breathing. The tiredness of the day settles deeply now. Then she steps back inside where warmth waits. Inside another roundhouse, someone places extra wood onto the fire. The flames brighten briefly. Orange light stretches across sleeping blankets already laid near the warmth. Night asks for closeness. People sleep near one another here. Warmth shared. Safety shared. The fire watched carefully. No one wants cold creeping too deeply into the room before morning. Outside, clouds drift slowly between stars. The hills rest silently beneath darkness. Nothing moves quickly now. The village feels still. Held gently by night. One by one, conversations begin fading. Stories end softly. Bowls are set aside. Children sleep fully now. Adults speak more quietly. Then quieter still. The fire burns lower. Breathing slows. Blankets pull closer around tired shoulders. The settlement slowly surrenders itself to rest. And beyond the round houses, The ancient hills wait patiently beneath moonlight, while somewhere hidden inside the darkness, another morning quietly prepares to arrive. The night deepens further now, settling fully across the hills. The settlement rests beneath a wide sky filled with quiet stars. Moonlight moves softly across rooftops and fences, touching them with a pale glow that feels distant and calm. Everything looks slower at this hour. Softer. As if the world itself has grown tired and chosen stillness. Inside the round houses, sleep begins to spread. One by one. Like a gentle wave moving through warm rooms. Fires have burned down to glowing embers now. Small red lights resting beneath pale ash. Their warmth remains, but their brightness has faded into something quiet and steady. Most people are asleep. Breathing slow. Blankets drawn close. Children curled near parents. Dogs resting near doorways. Even the sounds of the settlement have softened into near silence. Only the wind remains. Moving gently through grass and between wooden structures. Far beyond the homes, the river continues its steady path through darkness. It never changes its rhythm. It never stops. Water slips over stone, carrying the same quiet sound it carried during the day. That sound blends now with night air, becoming part of the village's sleep. Inside one home, an older villager shifts slightly. Sleep comes lighter with age. Not always deep. Not always steady. The fire has nearly disappeared now, leaving only faint warmth in the center of the room. A small breath of air moves through the doorway. Cooler than before. The villager listens for a moment. The faint creak of wood. The distant movement of wind. The slow breathing of others nearby. Everything feels safe. Everything feels familiar. After a while, sleep returns again. Softly. Without effort. Outside, the clouds thin for a moment, revealing more stars. The sky feels endless. Uninterrupted. Ancient. It stretches far beyond the hills, beyond the fields, beyond anything seen in daylight. People here rarely think about distance in the way travelers do. The sky is simply there. Always above. Always watching. Always quiet. The moon drifts slowly across it, casting pale light over sleeping land. Fences cast long, soft shadows. Paths between homes are barely visible. The village feels like a small resting place beneath something far larger and older. Time moves differently at night. Not measured in tasks or movement. Only in silence. Only in breath. Only in the slow fading of awareness into sleep. Near the edge of the settlement, a final ember glows faintly inside a dying fire. No one tends it now. It simply rests. Slowly dimming. Until even its last light softens into ash. Somewhere nearby, a night bird calls once across the fields. A single sound. Then silence again. The hills do not respond. They simply hold the sound for a moment before letting it go. Everything returns to stillness. Inside the homes, sleep grows deeper. Dreams move quietly behind closed eyes. Not sharp. Not loud. Only soft impressions shaped by the day. Walking through fields. Warm firelight. The sound of water. The feeling of tired hands finally resting. Outside, dew begins forming again on grass. A quiet return of moisture after the heat of the day. The land cools slowly. Patiently. As it always does. The river remains unchanged. The sky remains wide. The settlement remains still. Time continues moving forward, but without urgency. Without sound. Without disturbance. Only gentle passage. Only night unfolding. Only rest spreading across the ancient hills like a soft covering. And in that stillness, the village sleeps deeply, held quietly between earth and sky, while the next morning waits somewhere beyond the darkness, patient and unhurried. Night has fully settled now, deep and complete over the settlement. The hills are no longer visible in detail. They are only shapes beneath the sky, resting in darkness that feels calm rather than empty. The world has softened into silence. Inside the round houses, sleep holds everyone gently. Breathing is slow, even, steady. Blankets rise and fall with quiet rhythm. Warmth remains near the center of each home, where fires have long since faded into dim embers. Only faint red glows remain, like small memories of warmth still holding on in the ash. The village feels still in a way that only night can bring. Not frozen. Only resting. The river continues its movement beyond the homes, unseen but always present. Its sound travels softly through the night air, slipping between trees and fields. It never grows louder or softer. It simply continues. That steady sound becomes part of sleep here. Familiar. Comforting. Unchanging. Inside one home, a child shifts slightly in sleep, turning closer to warmth without waking. A parent nearby remains still, one arm resting protectively. The room feels small in the night. Safe. Held together by fire, walls, and shared quiet breathing. Outside, wind moves gently through the settlement. It brushes across rooftops and fields, carrying cool air that settles over grass and soil. A few loose strands of thatch shift softly, then grow still again. Even the wind feels careful at this hour, as if not to disturb anything. Far above, the sky opens wide. Stars are scattered across it without end, steady and distant. They have watched many nights like this. Many villages. Many generations of quiet sleep beneath them. Nothing changes up there quickly. Everything feels patient. A slow world above a sleeping one. The moon moves slightly across the sky, its light pale and gentle. It touches fences, paths, and the edges of round houses, giving the village a faint outline in the darkness. Everything feels smaller under moonlight. Quieter. More distant from the worries of the day. Inside one round house, an older villager wakes for a brief moment again. The body remembers night in its own way. Not always deep sleep. Sometimes soft waking between hours. They listen. The fire is gone now. Only cool ash remains. The room feels still, except for breathing nearby and the faint sound of wind outside. Nothing is wrong. Everything is as it should be. After a moment, eyes close again. Sleep returns easily. Outside, a thin mist gathers over the fields. It moves slowly between grass and stones, drifting like a quiet breath from the earth itself. Dew forms more heavily now, settling into the land. The world cools further. Rest deepens. The settlement remains unchanged. No footsteps. No voices. No work. Only night holding everything in a long, steady pause. Time continues, but it feels distant now. Almost unimportant. There is only stillness. Only the soft presence of life at rest. And somewhere beyond the hills, beyond the sleeping fields and quiet river, the first hint of future morning waits unseen, patient and calm, as the night continues its long and gentle hold over the ancient land. The night continues its slow and steady passage over the sleeping settlement. Everything remains still beneath the wide sky. The hills are quiet shapes now, softened by darkness and distance. The village rests quietly within them, held by sleep and the gentle weight of night air. Inside the round houses, warmth lingers faintly in the center of each home. Not fire anymore. Only memory of fire. Ash holds a quiet warmth for a while after the flames are gone, and that small comfort remains through the deeper hours of night. Blankets stay close. Bodies remain still. Breathing continues in slow, even rhythms. The settlement feels deeply at rest. Outside, the wind moves lightly through the fields again. It does not rush. It does not pull or push. It simply passes through grass and between wooden fences, brushing over the land like a soft hand. The fields respond only with slight movement before returning to stillness. Far beyond the homes, the river continues its constant journey. Its sound is faint at night, but it never fully disappears. Water moves over stone, through bends in the land, carrying the same steady rhythm it has carried for generations. That sound belongs to the night here. A quiet reminder that even in stillness, the world continues. Inside one home, a child breathes softly in sleep, turning slightly as dreams shift gently behind closed eyes. Nearby, an older villager remains still, wrapped in worn fabric that has seen many winters. The room is dark now. Only moonlight slips through small openings, tracing pale lines across the floor. Everything feels calm. Held. Safe. Outside, the sky stretches endlessly. Stars remain fixed in their slow positions, scattered across darkness like distant fires that never fade. They feel unchanging, as if they belong to something far older than the village below. People rarely speak of them during the day. But at night, they feel close. Present. Almost watchful. The moon continues its slow path, casting pale light over roofs and pathways. Shadows lie long and soft across the settlement, blending into one another until the village feels like a single resting shape beneath the sky. Time moves quietly here. Not marked by sound or movement. Only by the slow shift of light and darkness. Inside the round houses, sleep deepens further. Breathing grows steadier. Heavier. More settled. Dreams move gently through minds shaped by long days of labor. Fields. Water. Firelight. The simple rhythm of work and rest repeats even in sleep. Outside, a faint breeze moves through the settlement once more. It touches grass, fences, and rooftops, then passes on without lingering. The land remains undisturbed. Even the smallest sounds feel distant now. A leaf shifting. A soft creak of wood. Then silence again. The village holds itself in a long, peaceful pause. Nothing asks for attention. Nothing demands response. Only rest remains. The world beyond continues, but gently, without urgency. The river flows. The wind moves. The sky turns slowly overhead. Everything follows its quiet path. Inside one home, a fire ember that survived unnoticed for a long while finally dims further, its glow nearly gone now, sinking into ash. Warmth fades completely. But comfort remains in memory and fabric and shelter. The night feels complete. Deep. Whole. And still it continues. Across the ancient hills, the settlement sleeps without interruption, wrapped in darkness that feels soft rather than heavy, while somewhere far beyond the horizon, the first hint of another morning waits patiently, still far away and unhurried. The night has nothing left to rush toward. It simply stays. Soft and wide over the hills, it holds the settlement in a quiet stillness that feels almost endless. The round houses rest close together beneath the sky, their shapes dim and peaceful in the darkness. No fires burn now. Only the memory of warmth remains inside the walls, lingering faintly like something gently remembered. Inside, the last hours of sleep are deep. Breathing is slow and steady. Blankets remain wrapped tightly around bodies that no longer think of fields or water or tools. The weight of the day has fully released itself now. Everything that needed to be done has already been done, and everything that will come next is still far away. Outside, the wind moves lightly across the fields one more time. It brushes the grass in quiet waves, then fades again into stillness. The river continues its steady path beyond the village, unchanged and patient, carrying its soft sound through the darkness like a distant, constant memory. Above it all, the sky remains open and endless. Stars rest in their quiet places, unchanged by time passing below. The moon continues its slow drift, pale light touching the land without disturbing it. Everything feels suspended in calm balance, as if the world itself has chosen rest. There is no urgency here. No need for anything to change quickly. Only the deep rhythm of nature moving as it always has. Night after night. Season after season. Generation after generation. Inside the settlement, the people sleep in simple warmth. Their lives are woven into this land in small, steady ways. Through planting and gathering. Through repairing and sharing. Through the quiet repetition of days that look similar but are never truly the same. There is no final moment that feels grand. Only a gradual settling. A soft completion of another day. And then, in the distance beyond thought, the first pale shift begins again. Not sudden. Not loud. Just the gentle return of light somewhere far beyond the hills. A new morning, arriving slowly, as it always does. The village does not rush toward it. It never has. It simply rests until the world turns it forward once more. And in that rest, everything remains as it should be. Quiet. Simple. Alive. And still at peace.